President William Ruto scored the fast win in his quest to sustain funding for his affordable housing program yesterday after the new bill passed to the second reading in Parliament. After split voting, 141 MPs cast their ballot in favour of the bill against 58 who opposed it.
Honorable Speaker, sir, in the second reading of the Affordable Housing Bill 2023, the voting manual for ayes 141, nays 58.
Order, honorable members. I now wish to announce the results of the voting to the House. In a division on second reading of the Affordable Housing Bill 2023, the results are as follows. The ayes nil.
The opposition maintained their decision to reject the bill, terming it as discriminative and punitive.
We are exposing Kenyans now, including even Mama Mboga in the streets, who are promised that this levy will only affect those who are salaried and who have a pay slip, to unnecessary harassment by Kenya Revenue Authority. Mr. Speaker, to impose this levy on people who don't have salary is going to be a nightmare. And what we are doing, in short, is to allow the Kenya Revenue Authority officers to now be snooping and harassing Kenyans, including even farmers, Mr. Speaker.
Members of the National Assembly are now demanding a forensic audit on the Teacher Service Commission payroll system amid rising expenditure attributed to salary overpayments. The bid to audit the public service teacher employer gained momentum after the House Public Accounts Committee grilled TSC CEO Nancy Macharia over a 466 million shillings sum flagged by the Auditor General under the financial year 2021-2022. Macharia explained that the overpayments had grown over the years due to an inefficient reporting system, which she said remained manual. The government, through the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, has welcomed Kenyans aged 18 to 35 to enroll for a free training program dubbed Finya Commuter Itoe Dola. The ministry states that the program will teach free courses covering data entry, digital marketing, virtual assistance, and artificial intelligence for graphic design. The 4-day training is set to start from March 4th to 8th and will run from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The launch comes barely a day after President William Ruto had announced that purchase of computers that will be used for the program.
Tumepanga ajira inaitwa digital jobs. Na mimi nalete kompyuta 100 kwa hii nyinyi vijana hapa mnanielewa? Hapa tutakuwa na kompyuta 100. Kutakuwa na wanafunzi ya kufundisha nyinyi. Nyinyi mjifunde hiyo maneno. Tumepanga digital jobs. Tunataka wewe ukiwa hapa Gigureneyu, Taptengelei hapa. Wewe uko Taptengelei lakini unafanyia kazi kampuni iko Marekani na unafinya kompyuta, unaenda nyumbani na unapata dola.
Doctors have given the relevant health stakeholders until March 1st to ensure the placement of all pending medical interns. KMPDU Secretary General Davji Teller said more than 1,200 medical interns were awaiting posting, with some having waited for either 6 months or a year.
We have sat down and we know that the ultimate power of workers comes with the skills that they have learned. And today we are issuing a 14-day strike notice to Kisii County that will commence on 4th of March if the issues that we had taken to the government have not been addressed. That is, the doctors, the health workers who are being victimized has not stopped. That is, the salaries that have been stopped are not reinstated. That the consultants and all the health workers have not been designated to the right positions and also promoted to the right places.
And finally, in the international scene, 3 decades after the advent of democracy, South Africa will go to the polls on May 29th for general elections and perhaps the first serious challenge to ANC rule. Opinion polls suggest President Cyril Ramaphosa's party may win less than 50% in nationwide elections for the first time and may be forced to share power. In a statement from his office, Ramaphosa announced the ballot would take place on May 29th and called on voters not already registered to do so online. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
It's critical that people pay taxes. But then taxation has to have a limit. When you start overtaxing people beyond certain limit, then this is now we call robbery with violence.
We are all struggling, but we don't show. If you're not doing well, shame on you. But you have to say, I'm broke and I'm struggling. We are not okay until everybody is okay.
We are pretending to have political parties. Why don't we just be honest? And we say, these are the Luyas, these are the Kambas, these are the Kikuyus, and we find ourselves in Kenya.
You know, with politics and leadership, no matter what you do, there will always be a complaint. There will always be the assumption that you're either stealing or you're not doing things right. As a leader, don't fear. If you know you're doing the right thing, you've thought about it, you've got an expert advice, do it, then understand later.
This country, we don't need prayers. Prayers is between you and God. Good governance and thinkers who care about the country and not their stomach.
That's what we need.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry.
Hapo. You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, hawa watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. You know, that's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person, or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
Who is a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege. Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
windows
sleep inside.
Up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
The Situation Room.
Good morning
Kenya's
and welcome
biggest
to
conversation.
Wednesday, in the middle of the week. And what do the streets have to offer up to us today? Well, if you started out early today, you shouldn't have an issue. If you're coming off of the Thika Superhighway, which always starts early with traffic, you'll be fine for now. Of course, as folks are getting into the city, the Pangani underpass is giving already. As you're coming in from Survey, that also already looks busy, and we're likely to see a lot more movement on the Thika Superhighway this morning. Limuru Road looks good, as it does on Kiambu Road. You're not going to have any issue there. Coming off of the Northern Bypass, movement is free. It's clear, not an issue here at all. You're coming out of Westlands, you're all right. And coming off of Mombasa Road this morning, as you're heading out towards the city centre, that also is flowing freely. We're starting Wednesday off right. Let's see what happens as we get into it this morning. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
It's 10 minutes after 6 o'clock, and today is the 21st of February. Good morning, and how are you doing? Welcome to Wednesday, in the middle of the week, and we're already hurtling towards the end of February. My goodness, things are happening much quicker. Wololo. How are you doing today? Karibu sana to Kenya's biggest conversation. We're getting into it today with a number of conversations to be had. Eric Latiff, good morning.
Good morning. Yes.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Me being fine is,
It's colder today than it was yesterday at this time.
Oh, yeah.
Of the day.
Slightly.
Yeah, but they want to force me to go back to my sweaters.
It's okay, at least we see the shirts.
Napatia sweater break kidogo bana, I'm off brand.
You don't look like you.
Ijoto yende. I need to get back on brand.
Okay.
Yeah?
We hear you.
Eric Bila sweater. Surely. Hey, Bwana Muga.
Yes, Bwana Eric.
Hujambo?
Mimi si jambo.
Mungu napenda wewe.
Sana. Hata mimi ninajua hiyo.
Nilikuwa naambia ndio hivyo, but she doesn't believe many things I tell her. So will you tell her?
Let me tell her. Mungu
That's a loaded statement.
But I'll tell you something else. When it comes to telling people things which they don't believe, you need to distinguish between issues that are your problems and somebody else's problems. And not believing is not your problem.
Yes. Don't sweat the small stuff.
That's not your problem. She's the one who doesn't believe.
Shauri yake. Shauri ni yake.
Yake.
Shauri ni yake.
I don't understand all these
There's a song in my mind.
Coming from this morning.
That's a song in my mind.
Oh.
Yes. Hataki maneno. Oh, yo.
Ready?
Daima milele. Kasuku. Hey, wanaitwa Les Wanyika.
Okay. Kasuku is parrot.
Kasuku is someone. A guy called Kasuku. This guy is a chilled out guy. Hataki maneno. What he gets, he's content with what he gets. Hataki matata. So we pray that God blesses him. Aishi daima milele.
Amen.
He's a citizen of the county of Busia.
Kasuku.
Yes.
Okay.
He is known to me.
He's known to you.
You know the Kasuku guy?
You know Kasuku?
Personally, yes.
Yeah.
Lord?
He's a content guy.
Very chill guy.
He's a chill guy.
Very chill.
Hataki maneno.
No.
Bas. Ukimpatia 15 ni sawa.
15 what?
Thousand. Million.
Billions.
Bobs. Whatever. So tell us the story of Kasuku. This chap that you know called Kasuku.
Yes.
In Busia.
No, he's from Busia. The resident of Nairobi for the longest time. Yes.
What's his story? How did he come to...
You know the city hall, There's this car park in front of City Hall Annex at the back. This band used to play there for the longest time. This gentleman is the one who ran that establishment. Yes.
That's why between City Hall Annex and Holy Family Basilica.
But you have understood it perfectly. It's a very famous place. Bands used to play there.
Nowadays, it's a place where people meet and congregate when they want to raise funds for Matanga and what have you. Yes. Yes. Very many famous bands.
So Kasuku used to run...
He ran it for the longest possible time.
What was it called?
I'm trying to remember whether it was called In at the Park or it was called something of that sort. Yes, but it was famous. Sunday afternoons, you could listen to this particular band. Yes.
Bas.
So, and other well-known bands. Yes.
Bas. Very good. Very good. So what shall we be discussing today, this Wednesday, the 21st? I'll tell you. We will have a 7 a.m. conversation around filling the knowledge gap in sustainable waste management practices. Richard Kainika is the Secretary General of the Kenya Association of Waste Recyclers. Did you know that exists? Now you know. James Odongo is the CEO of the Kenya Extended Producer Responsibility Organization. I think we've had a conversation with James before, alongside the man with the biblical name, Ebenezer.
Amadi.
The Kenya Extended Producers Responsibility Organization and the Kenya Association of Waste Recyclers, they'll be here. We'll be talking about sustainable waste management practices. That's at 7. 8 a.m. Breaking the Illusions Leadership Journey, Lessons from the Public Service, and we'll be joined by somebody who served in the public service as cabinet minister between 2015 and 2022, who is now the CEO of Reimagine Impact Associates and also a certified executive leadership and EQ coach, Cecily Karaoke. She was a minister for health, minister for water. What else? Yeah, and before that she had served in one of those coffee or tea.
Something.
Or was it her sister? Or was it her sister? One of them.
Guess what we'll do when she comes?
She will ask her.
Exactly.
And then at 9 o'clock, did you know of a community called the Endorois community?
No, I didn't.
The Endorois community.
I didn't.
They, you see this bishop of ours from Berur, the other bishop, not the current bishop,
Vivian.
the other Archbishop Vivian.
Yeah.
She's been bringing honey to us. Most of that honey comes from the Endorois community
of
Baringo County. It's a small community, marginalized by the government of the Republic of Kenya. They have taken matters even to the highest court in Africa, the African Court on Human Rights, which the highest court, the Court on Human Rights said, actually, you guys have been violated by your government. And the court gave certain orders about, reparation and restoration of their rights. None of that has happened. So now, David Lelimoi Tuitoek, who is the youth director at the Endorois Welfare Council, and Kebi Arap Tanyakori, who is the cultural ambassador of the Endorois, they'll be here at 9. The two of them. They'll tell us about the Endorois community.
And what's up?
And where they are, what do they do, how many are they, and so on and so forth.
That place is called Garden Square.
Garden Square.
Oh, that's on the other side. It's the Garden Square one?
It's Garden Square.
Oh, that's KSCC 2.
Yes, Garden Square.
Yeah. It was redone and rebranded. Now it's Ashaki.
Oh, Asaki.
Yes, exactly. 19 minutes after 6. Do tell us the weather. We are live streaming on YouTube and Facebook. How is it behaving today? Tuombe Mungu aisaidie yo. Aya.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning at 18. We'll see highs of 25 and lows of 17. 17 and cloudy in Nakuru. We'll see highs of 30 and highs of 27 in Nyeri, where it's partly cloudy at 14. Eldoret at 12 degrees is clear, highs of 26. And looking into a cloudy Mombasa at 27, we'll see highs of 34. Malindi is cloudy at 26, highs of 33 through Wednesday. Mostly clear at 21 in Kisumu, we'll see highs of 32. And into Kakamega, it's 16 and clear, we'll see highs of 32 as well. Kampala is mostly cloudy at 22 with highs of 30, while Dar es Salaam is clear at 27. We'll see highs of 32. Johannesburg is partly cloudy at 18 with highs of 31, while it's partly sunny at 25. In Mogadishu, we'll see highs of 33. 11 degrees and clear in Addis Ababa this morning. It'll go to highs of 23, while Lagos is clear at 28. It'll go to highs of 33. It's mostly cloudy at 26 in Kinshasa, highs of 34, -2 and light snow still in Beijing, highs of 1 and lows of -4 into Wednesday afternoon. It's 7 and clear in rather cloudy in Paris, highs of 10, and in a rainy London at 10 degrees, highs of 12. It's 0 and clear in New York Tuesday night. Coming into Wednesday, we'll see highs of 3 and lows of -2.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
Hey, people are woke this morning.
Kabisa?
Yeah, yes.
Very good.
Good morning, Shade. Chris Adede says good morning. SpiceFM listening to the Situation Room from Utawala. Raphael Kige is tuned in and says the conversation is indeed the best. Asante Sana. Miriam Wairimo says good morning. Do have yourselves a blessed day ahead. Kennedy Anyonya says good morning. Everybody from Pangani. Baldhead says top of the morning. Well, top of the morning to you, to Saya. Okay, Ricardo Marietta says good morning, kings and queens, locked in this morning. Karibu as well. Des says good morning to Eric and CT. Have a great day, y'all. Asante Sana. Saying good morning to Sebit Yusuf says good morning, wishing you all a great day. Jeffrey Mogaka says good morning. CT Eric Ndu Anyaboke. Eco locked, looking forward to a great show. Ednah Aseme Jambo. Ednah Aseme Jambo. Amesema.
Hatujasikia.
We are not going forward until we hear. Say jambo. Say jambo. Jambo bwana. Habari gani. Nzuri sana.
Analenga your story.
Ananilenga kabisa. It's okay, I know where to find her.
Okay.
Jeffrey Mogaka says good morning to you. Evans Ntabo says good morning. Nyaboke, computer 100 unafinya $1 inaanguka. All right. Joe Mongai says good morning. The hot seat can't be too hot for Ruto or Rigave. Bring them, please. Oh, what? Okay. Onganyi Malala says good morning, everybody. Eric Ndu Edna and Diego listening in from, and CT listening in from Nairobi, the Nairobi plantation. Cash Bish says good morning, everybody. Been having issues with streaming the show. Let's just be quiet. It's okay for now. Don't talk. Kiongozi Omosh says good morning, Team Kubwa. Anne Gore, the beautiful lady, is greeting beautiful people. She's tuned in from the beautiful hills of Sapoti. Monica Oile says good morning. You guys killed me with laughter yesterday. What happened? What did we do? Oh, we're laughing yesterday when we're closing the show. Ah, okay. Meshak Jenga says good morning. Robert Mbogo is also tuned in. John Joki Hato is tuned in. Says Sabaheri, Waishimiwa, Finya Dola. Rogers Nyange says good morning. CT, Karibu Sana. Today we expect you in the hot seat, Bwana. Tell us about the men's conference. The women are the ones who want to know. What is it that you discussed in their absence?
Which conference again?
The men's one. Okay. We know what you're doing. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas and all those good things. We see you from far. Joram Mumbo says good morning. Okay, quite a number of people online this morning. Toti Bishop is here, Dr. Venvic, Vicky Aarons, Kiongozi Omosh says good morning, Julius Kenyan Jui, King Dave says good morning, Kelvin Kaburu, Peter Mwauran Jerry says he's tuning from Kanunga. That's actually a place.
Oh, yes.
Is it? Where is it?
Kiambu County.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. It's not a lie.
No, it is not a lie.
Okay. Thomas Ocheng says good morning. Rose Grace is tuned in from none other than Tamu. Jennifer Atenyi is tuned in. Shakespeare is also tuned in. I gotta love some of these handles, but I think that has to be my favorite in a long time. Good morning, everybody. Karibuni sana.
Kabisa. City. Ghana.
Ghana. Ghana.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to talk to you about Ghana.
Hey.
Okay?
Tell us.
They actually have a president. Okay?
Wow. Okay.
In case you didn't know. Nana Akufo-Addo. The president has a vice president called Mahamadou Burwamia. They even have a speaker called Alban Bagbin. Something I've noticed in many of these African countries, somewhere among the people who are considered to be high up, there's always a lady. Ghana is not to be left out. Their Chief Justice, Gertrude Tokomo. Interesting, isn't it? Even as you have Chief Justice.
That's a lady?
Yes, even now as a lady. Yes. Called Martha?
Call me.
That is her full name. Right. The proverb of the day. This one is slightly, just a wee bit lengthy. Something like around 2 sentences. Okay? It is the human being that counts. I call gold. It does not answer. I wonder why he's surprised. I call cloth. It does not answer. It is the human being that counts.
Counts. That was the word. We were really struggling to read your handwriting. It counts.
What did he read?
I have no idea what he said.
I didn't read it.
He couldn't figure it out. Counts.
My handwriting.
It is the human being that
counts. Wait. My handwriting, which I've just read. What? You thought it was hieroglyphics?
I didn't think.
You knew.
It's a human being that counts. I call
gold. Does not answer. I call cloth. It does not answer. It is the human being that counts.
It's a human being that counts. Because they answer.
Imzuri. Mzuri. Kabisa. Haya. We only have one newspaper today.
One.
No, we don't.
Oh,
what did you
African.
Do? See, the East African.
Start with it.
Start with the East African, why don't you?
Right. The East African. They also have a corner in Till Green.
No, they don't.
Oh, yes, they do.
They do?
Oh, voilà, they do.
NTBS costs EAC dearly. Import quotas, subsidies, customs delays, technical barriers impede trading, leading to low intra-EAC trade. This is still on page 26 and 27.
It's NTBs, non-tariff barriers.
Yeah, something of that sort.
Okay.
What happens, though, I have found there are many things that the East African addresses that are probably just mentioned in our dailies, but the East African goes to great length. Okay. For instance, you'll find when you're looking at news, national, international, you'll find DRC has a problem, but the headline of the East Africans, Congo is burning.
Allah?
Yes, sizzling so. Kinshasa.
Well done. Don't say it again, because you might jinx it.
I know how to leave well alone.
Say the capital
of DRC, Rwanda, Burundi leaders have traded blame on who is fanning the new violence in the restive eastern region. But in the jungles are also foreigners exploiting blood minerals. This is a story on page 4 and 5. This thing never really seems to come to an end.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And when you... Anyway, sorry for another day.
Sawa.
I think we'll leave it there, won't we?
Okay.
Yes, let's look at...
headline out, please.
No, let's leave it there for the time being.
Tell us what's on the front page of the Standard.
On the front page of the Standard this morning. Okay, I need to breathe a minute.
Okay.
Dead teachers paid millions. MPs demand an in-depth audit of the Teacher Service Commission payroll following revelations that dead tutors were in a list that saw the state agency overpay salaries by 446 million shillings for the year 2021-2022. Okay. The president meets with the cabinet and county chiefs. In case you're wondering who county chiefs are, those are governors. There's a picture there of the president in a red polo sweater. And he's greeting Cabinet Secretary for Cooperatives, that's Mr. Simon Chelugui, at the resort yesterday. He's also there flanked by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, Governors Kihika Kimani, Anne Waiguru, and Cecily Mbarire. So the 4-day retreat ends tomorrow. Let's see what happens thereafter, nay?
Sawa.
Okay.
Nay.
Now, there's a picture of Kihika, and next to that is a subhead about how she could risk jail over war memorial tussle. The court prioritizes hearing of an application by the hospital's administration seeking to cite Governor Kihika and Nakuru County Police Chief Ndanyi for contempt.
These people have not been taken to jail. It's still risk, threat,
something could happen. We'll see. We'll wait and see, kind of thing.
Okay. Meanwhile, the goons are still at the hospital.
The goons are still gooning.
All right.
You know, this thing is really puzzling,
isn't it? We'll look at the details of that story. Strange kidnap, shock murder of businessman on Valentine's Day, no less. Jayesh Kanji was walking in Nairobi West with his family. Moments later, he was picked up by someone in a Toyota Prado. Later, and miles away, a blood trail led security guards to a thicket where they found a checked shirt, a shoe, underwear, metal rod, and pieces of bones. What happened? Oh my goodness.
This story is just a bizarre.
Crazy.
We'll
look into that as well. Scars of city gas explosion. Do you know that it's almost a month since the Embakasi explosion took place? Heaps of burnt out wreckage still lie bare at Mradi Estate, the scene of a tragic gas explosion. Scene of a tragic gas explosion, period, is what it should be. Victims are still scarred, a testimony to the devastating impact of the night fireball. For them, life will never be the same again. We go behind the scenes to investigate. William Ruto and Bolaji Tinubu have been called the what? The flying presidents.
Okay.
All right. Now so then talk, now so we see. That's it.
That's it, huh?
Yeah.
We'll look at them in greater detail. 28 minutes to 7. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
I've got a plan to make my investment portfolio more diverse than a DJ's vinyl collection.
ICEA Lion has a plan for everyone. Talk to us today for a plan that's right for you. Or visit icealion.co.ke. ICEA Lion, what's your plan?
All right, a few minutes just after 6:30. Let's see what's going on here. Jogoo Road hasn't had a beat in a minute and doesn't look like it's going to be one this morning either. Just as you pass the Makadara train station, there's a bit of a hold up there, but if you get along Jogoo Road, you'll be fine. Coming on the Thika Superhighway all the way in from Kasarani, traffic is building up and it's bumper to bumper through and through till you get to Survey out towards the Pangani underpass. We've not seen anything coming in from Kawasukari or that particular area. Githurai, we'll wait and see, but it looks like it's going to be a busy one today. All right, if you're coming off of the Northern Bypass out towards Runda or then now connecting with Kiambu Road, for now, we're looking good. You might want to leave early because all indications are pointing towards crazy traffic on Kiambu Road today. Are you coming off of Langata Road? You're fine for now. Magadi Road, we will see some movement there. It has already begun. The Southern Bypass is looking good. Take the scenic route to the city today and then, stay clear of traffic if you can. If you must. Coming off of Cabanas going towards North Airport Road, it's starting to pile up as well. You're coming inbound from the Eastern Bypass. We're looking at a bit of movement here and there. Let's keep an eye on things and see how they develop into Wednesday morning. We'll talk on SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Hello to them now. Our folks who are also tuned in on Facebook, can't leave you out. Joseph Rop says, good morning, tuned in from Texas, in Dallas. Kapenguria inasikiliza. Dennis wa Murgwijit. It's been a minute. Hello and good morning to you. Evelyn Kavaya says good morning, on board for Wisdom Wednesday. This is the day that the Lord has made and she's tuning from Riyadh. Edward Fondo says good morning and we see you guys.
Edward Fondo?
Yes. Name is Edward Fondo.
Yeah, he used to be a KBC presenter called MDJ. Eddie Fondo.
Wonder if there's a relation.
Maybe.
We see you guys as well. Thanks for, checking in and keeping it here through the morning.
Alrighty. I have screenshots of the other newspapers. Can I give you the headlines?
Please do.
The Daily Nation. State House extra budget blocked. The Controller of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, rejected requests by the national government to spend 47 billion shillings under an emergency provision that allows withdrawals without parliamentary approval. Among the blocked expenditures was 1.1 billion by State House for the purchase of vehicles and building of a modern presidential dais.
I thought they bought vehicles.
They wanted 1 billion to, that the presidential dais, pale rais anasimama hapa juu na nyinyi mko pale.
It's the one that you're using broken.
Yeah? Yeah.
It's broken.
Those things don't break.
It's not working. It's not working.
What?
The one that they currently have.
I think you need to read this thing again. Endor didn't get it.
See, they want to spend money to just build.
What is wrong with the one that they currently
It is not
have?
Modern.
Modern? How is modern?
Modern is new.
Kwa nini fundi? Well.
Even you.
Higher. The other headlines in the nation this morning. Governors insist counties must get 450 billion shillings. A meeting with governors at the ongoing National Executive Retreat in Naivasha failed to unlock the deadlock over the devolved unit's share of national revenue, even as President Ruto pledged his administration is committed to strengthening devolution. The Treasury has offered 391 billion, but county chiefs want more.
Okay.
So currently it's 370. They want to add Kilo 20.
They
So
want
it comes
it
to
to be-
391. Okay? But the budget, the national budget, is moving from 3.6 trillion to 4.2 trillion. An extra 600 billion of national cake, but an extra 200 billion for devolution. And yet, we are talking about, in the next financial year, unbundling and transferring functions that ought to be county functions. Unasikianga kitu inaitwa bangi. Imepatikana. More pain, fuel prices to rise as state triples April levy. Consumers will pay more for fuel after the government tripled the tax payable to the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority for every litre of the commodity purchased.
It's like people sit in a room and say, we are bored. What should we do today?
We have not had them
We
screaming.
have not had them make noise
They are
for
not
at least
screaming
5
today.
days.
Are they not in pain?
Finya. Bonyeza hapa. Sheesh.
A tragic story here. A Kenyan student dies on arrival in Dublin. A family in Baringo wants an investigation into the cause of the death of their 23-year-old daughter 3 days after returning to Dublin, Ireland, where she'd been studying for 8 months. She just got back. 3 days later, she died. Those are the headlines in the nation. The Star. Okay. First, let's go to top right-hand corner in teal green. Blood money. How Al-Shabaab capitalized on poaching to fund terrorism. And then the other headlines. 10-day ultimatum. Doctors threaten a go-slow over delay in posting interns. Shakahola. Mackenzie and 94 others in hospital after hunger strike.
Oh, Lord.
It's not a hunger strike. So that was the whole mission for them. Why are you calling it a hunger strike now?
No, see, they've decided they should go away, Joe. They've been eating before. Now,
They
said
were
that-
forced to eat. Now they're like, they came back to their senses. They're like, but we're on a mission, guys. Why are we still here? The Lord cometh. A magistrate court in Mombasa has ordered cult leader Paul Mackenzie and 94 other co-accused persons to be taken to hospital after they staged yet another hunger strike. In a dramatic turn of events, the pastor and some of his associates refused to eat since Sunday, while others have not eaten for almost a week, according to prison wardens, while being arraigned at the Mombasa Law Court on Tuesday for the hearing of the charges of 238 counts of... 238 counts of, those things. Just forget about that. Bang in the middle of the paper. Audit report unearths 15.6 billion shilling rot at REREC. Rot at REREC.
REREC.
What is REREC?
Tell us.
The Rural Electrification Commission. It's called Rural something Electrification Commission. Senior officials had been suspended at the Rural Electrification Agency over payments. 15.6 billion shilling is the question mark. The People Daily. You've talked about those dead teachers. It has it there. TSC paid 446 million shillings to dead teachers. And then we have the Financial Business Daily. Financial Crimes Watchdog flags 86 billion shilling in 3 years. What does that mean now? They flagged 86.80. It means Kenyan investigative agencies flagged and investigated more than $591.36 million generated from suspected illicit activities, including corruption, fraud, and cybercrimes, in the 3 years to July last year, raising fears that part of the money may have been laundered into the financial system. Hiyo too. Interest rates on bank loans raise past 26% in fresh review.
Didn't they just review them?
Commercial banks are now charging more than 26% interest on loans in another round of credit repricing that signals more pain for risky borrowers amid a surge in defaults. The lender equity bank, the Tier 1 lender equity bank, has, for instance, set 26.74% as the lending rate for new loans to high-risk borrowers from a previous peak of 26.06. The adjustment is a cost of credit has been primarily driven by the expansion of tighter lending conditions, with the CBK having increased the benchmark lending rate back-to-back in the past 2 months. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
So they just tell people that their intent is for you to go away. In Mauritania.
Now read for us the story.
Okay, so let me tell you this story. I mean, there are quite a number of things, even if we do just have one. Dead teachers paid millions. 353 million is the amount of money in shillings that TSC overpaid teachers' salaries in 2020-2021 financial year. Now, please understand, it's not that individuals were paid above their pay grade. Like your pay grade is, 100,000 shillings and then you are paid on top. It's that they paid folks who are not there. You understand? Okay, so let me give you the details of the story. Now, MPs are demanding an audit. There's this one that they will demand audit for, but they won't demand audit or demand questions about. Anyway, members of parliament have called an audit for the Teacher Service Commission payroll following revelations of overpayment of salaries by 446 million. MPs were shocked to learn that some of this money had been used to pay dead teachers. They were shocked. It's shocking. The details came to light after the National Assembly Public Accounts Committee sitting, where the TSC Chief Executive Officer, Nancy Macharia, appeared to answer audit queries raised by the Auditor General. The queries include an explained decrease in employer contribution to NSSF and staff pensions over expenditure of budgets, cash losses, and unsupported receivable balances. The committee asked Macharia to explain the overpayments following revelations that the same had been verified as having been paid to dead teachers.
Okay.
Those who had deserted duty, those who had resigned, transferred or interdicted or had been absent from duty, that should actually not be.
So they should have entered into a system immediately freeze the salary for this one.
Yeah.
So a teacher has died. How long does it take for that to be reported to the TSC into the system?
This is a good question. I hope it's one of the things that she answered. If members feel that there is an issue with TSC systems, John Mbadi said, then this committee is at liberty to recommend for an audit of its payroll. Now, Macharia admitted that indeed there were overpayments of salaries for the period under review, and the same had grown over the years due to manual reporting systems that were inefficient. Salary overpayment occurred as a result of delay in stoppage of salary of employees upon death, desertion of duty, resignation, transfer of services, sick leave, interdiction, or absenteeism. So she said, look, by the time you do this thing, it's not in the system, it's not automated, it's not digitized. It takes time. All right?
Yep.
She, however, said that the remedial measures had been instituted by the commission to recover the money and also avert such occurrence in the future. So it's actually possible that if you've paid a teacher who's deceased over 3 months, that money is just sitting somewhere in an account. Very possible. Okay? So she said, look, they're trying to see how they can figure it out.
If the others have not yet gotten if the family has not gotten the administration powers and accessed the account.
Sure. That process also goes through court, where they're going to get...
Well, yeah. But if somebody has your ATM or your internet banking
then sure,
credentials,
yeah,
and they'll access the money.
So, she says to address the issue of salary overpayment, the Commission has developed an overpayment policy and online services to improve efficiency in reporting mechanisms between the Commission headquarters, field offices and schools in respect to death, desertion of duty, resignation, etc., etc. She submitted that other than sensitizing head teachers, sub-county directors and county directors on overpayment, the TSC had written to the beneficiaries of the overpayments to return the funds.
Okay.
Except in death, of course. In cases where payments were made to the dead, the families have been contacted, she said.
Okay.
So maybe that's not a shocker as such, because Nancy Macharia has dimmed it a little bit by saying, look, we are aware of this. It's not as though we were hiding or that they didn't go to these people. These are the circumstances under which these payments happened. And we've also gone ahead to make sure that we can fix it.
However,
Nancy
Macharia is not saying that we had systems that failed last year, or we had systems that experienced problems last year. She's saying that we have manual systems. That means it is not a new issue.
Oh, she admitted
this is what has been happening. Every year there has been a payment of similar amounts, 400 million plus, to people who should not be receiving a salary because they've been interdicted, because they've been suspended, because they've left office, because they've been fired, because they've died. Right? So it's not a new thing. In the same story of a TSC, there's also another one. So see, you go and present a budget to Parliament, and budget approves. And what? Not that budget approves. What are you saying about budget? Yeah, budget is approved. Money is allocated and appropriated. So there's something here that also happened, that the same TSC budgeted some money for wanaitwa nani wale wameretire retirees. So some hundreds of millions of shillings again was not spent by the TSC, yet they had budgeted for it. And so that's also another question that's been asked of them. So you came here and you said, give us X amount of money that we shall use for pension in the next financial year. At the end of the year, the Auditor General flags it and says, you guys did not absorb this money that was meant to be for pension. What gives? That's a question that they're being asked. Over 300 million shillings sat with them in their accounts. They didn't spend it. At the end of the year, there's an absorption issue. So the question is, did you over budget? Was that a mistake? Was that deliberate? Was it a computer error? Was it a typo? What was the issue? How can you have put 300 million shillings extra and call it pension? We give you the money, we approve. You have no one to pay the pension, so the money is coming back.
Why would you do it in the first place is the question.
Shida iko wapi?
Yeah.
Macharia attributed the excess budget to projections based on an evaluation report conducted during the transition of a new pension scheme model. There was a projection, transition, new pension scheme model. It had projected the transition that marriage pension would have this much. So they over budgeted.
Sour. No, it's actually not sour.
Because of that, they over budgeted. So she's like, pesa imerudi. This story is bizarre. On February 14th this year, businessman Jayesh Kumar Kanji was seen with his wife and child walking along Cody Road in Nairobi West. Kumar is said to have been picked up by one Kailan Verkaria, Kailan Shivji, who was driving a Toyota Prado and proceeded to Machakos County. This was the last time that he was seen. The following day, his brothers, Hetish Kumar and Deepak Valji, went to Langata police station to report a missing person after Kumar failed to show up that evening. They told the police that on February 14, their brother was to go to work at Sigma Feeds, Rongai, but did not show up at his home in the evening. His mobile phone was also switched off. Miles away from the station at Lukenya Conservancy, security guards who were on a normal patrol saw blood along a footpath. This led them to a thicket where they found a checked shirt with blood stains, a shoe, underwear, metal rod and pieces of bones of an unknown person. They alerted DCI, who collected the bones and documented the matter as an incident of an unknown person who'd been eaten by wild animals. Remember, we are talking about 14th was what? Wednesday last week. Wednesday last week in the afternoon, man is picked up by someone. Thursday morning, brothers go to report to police station. Same Thursday, security guards at Lukenya on normal patrol see blood, see bones, not body. Bones. The officers collected the items, the bones and the metal rod. At Langata, their counterparts formed a team to probe the circumstances under which Kumar went missing. Their counterparts at Langata decided to triangulate Kumar's calls. This led them to Mbithi Munguti Mulandi, whom they arrested at Athi River Turf Farm area. Lead investigator Violet Kialavi told Kibera Magistrates Court that Munguti spilled the beans, that Verkaria allegedly kidnapped Kumar at the Shell petrol station along Langata Road on that February 14th. It's alleged that Kumar was first hit on the head before being killed. The police painted a macabre murder plot that allegedly involved 2 hitmen who were waiting deep in the conservancy. The first respondent stated that they drove to Lukenya Conservancy, where they murdered Jayesh Kumar Kanji Velji, doused his body with a certain acid and dumped it there. The first respondents led the investigations team to a remote area within Lukenya, where he is alleged to have dumped the body. The other kidnappers, according to Chalai, were Gideon Muasa Ndale and Stephen Mwayu Musembe. It followed that Verkaria was arrested at Swaminarayan Temple Flats. The investigators also impounded the vehicle claimed to have been used. In the meantime, Muasa was arrested in Tala, while Mwayu was arrested at Gatitu in Mwala, Machakos County. In court, the police argued that the 4 were a flight risk because they know that they will likely be charged with murder. So the court has allowed them to be police to hold these people. Cops immediately check the phone, triangulate, see movements. This guy is picked on Mombasa Road in Athi River. Guy comes and spills the beans. He says, by the way, this Vikariarian, the man who picked him up, kidnapped him. And then they apparently were hitmen. These hitmen were the ones who were involved. They were already waiting at the Lukenya Conservancy. So when the man was brought there, they took him, they dealt with him, killed him, doused his body with petrol. You know what he did to his body, left his body there. Wild animals came at night.
And it was just a night.
We are talking about 1 week.
Yeah.
We have
all of this has been pieced together from beginning to where we are now in a week. More than that, they found this first suspect in 24 hours.
Yep.
In 24 hours.
Yep.
And then you tell me this year is not working.
Kuna.
Yep.
But more importantly, motive.
Yeah. What was it about? If this person is the one who went and just abducted him, there's CCTV footage that shows the man walking with his child along this road, the Cody Road, and then a vehicle stops and he enters the vehicle. So
the child is left.
The child is left. There's a child.
They say he was walking with his family.
Yeah, the child and the mother. They're left.
So this is someone who is known to him.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah. Very, very, very. City, you look for a story.
Look, I have found.
Okay.
Competition watchdog probes Airtel ATC deal. The COMESA, Competition Commission, has launched investigations into the alleged anti-competitive conduct by telecommunication firms American Towers Corporation ATC and Airtel Africa. The competition watchdog of the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, said it had received a complaint that the recent deal that Airtel signed with ATC is an anti-competitive contrary to the trading bloc's competition regulations. The Commission will, in accordance with the provisions of Part 3 of the regulations, conduct an inquiry to determine whether the alleged conduct has at its object or effect the prevention, restriction, and distortion of competition in the common market, or in substantial part of it, said the CCC Chief Executive Officer. The complaint alleges that the agreement between the two firms is it convenes? No, it contravenes actually. Article 6 of the Commercial Competition Regulations, which prohibits all agreements which may affect trade between member states and their object or effect the prevention, restriction, or distortion of competition in the common market, and so forth and so forth. You may ask, why am I picking on this story?
Yes.
You see, here in East Africa, we're talking about commerce and we're talking about East Africa. And I am looking at what for the longest time since last year has been referred to as trade wars that we in Kenya have with our neighbors. Okay? It's trade. Now, when you talk about competitiveness and you talk about anti-competitive laws and you talk about regulators who are supposed to ensure that some of these laws are put in place, I have to ask, are we really ever going to have an East African bloc that we envisioned? Is it something that we're going to see soon? Because every once in a while, we talk about it. Something comes up. But what is mentioned, yes, tells you only part of the story.
Yeah.
The other part of the story, which isn't spoken of very loudly, seems to be neighbors are not happy. And both Tanzania and Kenya seem not to be happy with Kenya. There's something we seem not to be doing in accordance with what we ought to have done.
Or there's something you do that's an affront.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we talk about the East African community. And remember the story I read to you on 26 and 20 and 29. Okay, let me just mention it in passing so that you understand the relevance of what it is that I am talking about. Okay? Of the 9 unresolved barriers, Tanzania and Uganda have highest number, with Dodoma having 4 and Kampala 3. EAC bosses want these resolved by June this year. Now, this has to do with just tariffs. Okay? Now, we are the ones who set up these tariffs, we're the ones who set up these agreements, we're the ones who have this commonality. We even have a parliament in East Africa that's supposed to represent all these things. Now, you tell me. And the 3 countries have representatives there. We set it up. Essentially, we're talking about the process of ratification. Why is it that something that is supposed to make trade between the 3 African countries, 3, let's just start with 3, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, not the Eastern African bloc. Why is it that suddenly things that we had agreed upon are suddenly becoming a sticking point?
Very difficult.
Yes.
It appears that there is no proper, real political goodwill for the full integration of the East African community.
Yes.
And when you say political goodwill, then you'd think, okay, since the revival of the EAC, how many presidents, apart from Uganda and Rwanda, how many presidents of Kenya and Tanzania had? Several.
They have.
Right? So we've seen Moi, we've seen Kibaki, we've seen Uhuru, now we are in Ruto. And we can still say there's no political goodwill from Kenya. We have seen Mkapa, we have seen Kikwete, we have seen Magufuli, we are seeing Mama Sul. We are still saying no political. What do you mean, man? And then if the 2 wazays have been the constant ones, then they would be shepherding the others into this direction.
Yes. And remember, there is a civil service that normally handles these matters. They don't change that rapidly. And even if they do, there are people who are immediately and directly below them. Those fellows hardly ever move. So it isn't as though the institutional memory of what it is that was envisioned has disappeared. It hasn't. But yet, we don't seem to make very much movement.
Indeed.
It's a tough one. You wonder where we're heading and whether we'll actually... Because there's addition of other countries. There's been very good progress in that. You know, in adding new countries. Now we are how many? Plus Somalia. 8?
8. 1, 2, 3.
It's great movement.
Yes.
But in terms of especially trade, we appear to make 2 steps backwards, we move 1 step back, 2 steps forwards, 1 step back.
Yeah, so you remain in the same place, essentially.
You know, the thing that for me actually got to the heart of this matter is why it is our wonderful neighbor and trader, biggest trader, would want to use the longest possible route to import his goods. Longest. Dar is far from Uganda. It is really, really far. Why? And yet, it's a much shorter route.
Why use that route, essentially?
It's a common back and forth. You threaten you're going to do this, then you don't do it, you come back this way, then you threaten to go that way. It's like you're keeping your options all open. It's just politics. 7 a.m. news time.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Obaga. Chief Government Pathologist Johansen Odror will today perform an autopsy on the body of world marathon record holder Kelvin Kiptum. The exercise, which will take place at the Eldoret Hospital, is meant to bring to light what resulted in the athlete's death following a road accident a week ago. Detectives led by DCI Homicide Director Martin Nyuguto have already launched fresh investigations into the tragic road crash. Nyuguto says they've already questioned the owners of 3 restaurants that Kiptum went to in Eldoret before proceeding to the scene of the accident.
Kwa hivyo siku hiyo marehemu Kiptum alifika saa 3 na dakika kama 12, akaliegesha gari katika parking yetu na akaagiza chakula chake, nyama na ndizi, na wakati huo akamaliza saa 4 na dakika kama 25 ndio aliweza kuondoka kwetu, na nafikiri hayo ndio masaa ambaye kweli alienda akapata ajali. Walikuwa watatu, mrembo mmoja na yule jamaa mwingine ambaye sasa tulijua kwamba ni coach wake. Tulisikia vibaya, kwanza mwenyewe niliona mtandaoni usiku.
The 7 comes as following yesterday's procession and candle lighting for the athlete by Kapsabet and a 10 residents. Another one is set for today in Eldoret town. Kiptum's wife is set to receive their home tomorrow ahead of his state burial on Friday. The court has ordered the lawyers of Nakuru Governor Susan Kihika and County Police Commander Samuel Ndanyi to submit their responses by April 17th, following a case filed by the management of the War Memorial Hospital involving contempt. The Nakuru High Court has also said that it will prioritize the case filed by the management of the hospital. The Nakuru County government, in collaboration with the police officers, are alleged to have ignored 6 court orders that asked them to reopen the hospital. President William Ruto's administration has allocated a record 1.35 trillion shillings towards repayment of public debt. The allocation takes up 47% of the projected ordinary revenue in the 2024-2025 financial year, which is the highest allocation on debt repayment in the past 5 years and exposes the pain of debt payment. In the current financial year, the state allocated 1.18 trillion shillings towards debt repayments, with some 930.35 billion shillings in the 2022-2023 financial year. Debt repayment took up 1.17 trillion in 2021-2022 and 829.90 billion the year before. The Affordable Housing Bill will today go into the 3rd reading, where, if endorsed by 2/3 of the members present, it will pass and await its presentation to the Senate. President William Ruto scored the first win in his quest to sustain funding for his affordable housing program yesterday, after the new bill passed the 2nd reading in Parliament. After split voting, 141 MPs cast their ballot in favour of the bill against 58 who opposed it.
Honorable Speaker, sir, in the 2nd reading of the Affordable Housing Bill 2023, the voting, manual for ayes 141, nays 58.
Order, honourable members. I now wish to announce the results of the voting to the House in a division on 2nd reading of the Affordable Housing Bill 2023. The results are as follows. The ayes 141, the noes 58, total vote 199, abstentions nil, so the ayes have it.
The opposition maintained their decision to reject the bill, terming it as discriminative and punitive.
We are exposing Kenyans now, including even Mama Mboga in the streets, who are promised that this levy will only affect those who are salaried and who have a pay slip, to unnecessary harassment by Kenya Revenue Authority. Mr. Speaker, to impose this levy on people who don't have salary is going to be a nightmare. And what we are doing, in short, is to allow the Kenya Revenue Authority officers to now be snooping and harassing Kenyans, including even farmers, Mr. Speaker.
That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Obaga.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Some holdups on the Eastern Bypass and it's inbound. It's probably going to flow on towards Outer Ring or then get out towards Mombasa Road. We'll have to wait and see what that looks like. On Jogo Road this morning, it's busy. Looking on the other side of Jogo Road now, it's Kangunda Road, that's busy as well. Thika Superhighway, true form has piled up quite some, all the way tailed back as far as Githurai today, and it's slow traffic getting into the CBD from the Thika Superhighway this morning. What was not on Kiambu Road is now there, bumper to bumper traffic all the way from now at the gate of the DCI through towards Muthaiga Square. Also busy on Limuru Road, and we're looking at heavy traffic coming off of Waiaki Way as well. Looks like Wednesday morning will be busy coming off Limuru Road through from Village Market out then towards Wangari Maathai Junction. It is busy. We're not in traffic hour yet. We will be soon. Let's see what happens when we do get there. We'll talk. Let us know what might be going off in your neck of the woods. SpiceFM KE on X. Hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
And thank you very much for choosing this as the way to start your day on SpiceFM, on KTN Home, on YouTube, and on Facebook. We are here every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It also is the one that shows you how you make money now, and you spend money, and you transfer money, and you make payments across the continent seamlessly.
Yes, it is, and that's by way of the Pan-African Bank. That's Eco Bank. Across the country, waking up, going to bed really doesn't matter. Your transactions can remain seamless just because you've plugged into this one platform. So across the nations, 35 of them in Africa, 4 of them outside of Africa, employing over 14,000 employees to make sure that this platform remains seamless for you is the Pan-African Bank, and they've come about with a better way of doing business, and because of a better way, it's a better Africa.
Kabisa. For the next 1 hour, we are going to talk about waste management, taka. You're going to have a taka conversation. Okay, so what do we do with the waste that we produce? Because every day you're producing waste in very many ways, and then you basically just call it waste because you do not want to deal with it thereafter. You throw it away. Somebody collects it. Where does it go? Is it an environmental issue? Oh, yes, it is. But can waste make money? We hear that it does. And that's why we're joined by Richard Kainika, who is the Secretary General of the Kenya Association of Waste Recyclers. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you.
Karibu sana. You'll soon be joined by John Odongo, who is the CEO of the Kenya Extended Producer Responsibility Organization. You're here for us to have a conversation about filling the knowledge gap in sustainable waste management practices, just getting to understand hii takataka. How can you convert it into reusable stuff and money out of it? But to welcome you to the conversation, City has the day's proverb. This week, the proverbs are from
Ghana.
Okay, and you told us the president is called?
President is a very interesting fellow. He's actually called Nana Akufo-Addo.
Okay.
Yes, he recently appointed a new minister for finance. See, they've been in the financial doldrums. I assume this gentleman has been appointed to sort out these problems.
This will be in our dream team.
Well, that is after Parliament approves his appointment.
Nice.
Right? Okay. It is the human being that matters. As I said, this problem, I said this proverb, the problem. I said there are 2 sentences, 3. Okay.
Sentence number 1.
It is the human being that matters.
Full stop.
Okay. I call gold, it does not answer.
Full stop.
Full stop.
I call cloth, it does not answer.
Full stop.
3.
It is the human being that counts.
Those are 4.
Right.
I said 3.
You said 3.
It's always good to give a bonus.
The other one is a chorus.
Yes. Pambio.
It's a pambio. Richard, when you hear this proverb from Ghana, what's your interpretation of it?
Well, it's the human being that matter. From where I sit, I think human beings are waste generators. Cloth and gold does not generate waste. And waste is resource, waste is raw material. In this time and age, waste is a serious resource. Yes.
That's nice. Perspective.
It's everything, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is everything.
It is human beings.
Those are the
create
ones
waste.
that matter.
Yes, cloth doesn't create waste.
Neither does gold.
Gold, sorry. It does not. Gold, no. Definitely not.
It doesn't.
But human beings.
Yeah.
Beware of these creatures.
So then, Richard, please introduce us to the Kenya Association of Waste Recyclers. Who are they?
Thank you. The Kenya Association of Waste Recyclers is a business membership organization that registers private sector industry that is involved in extraction of value from waste. Now, the use of the word recyclers in this context is by the virtue of the fact that the whole process, the whole value chain involves reclaiming of the waste values all the way to conversion of the same into finished products. That is what we find in the marketplace. Oftentimes, unless you are very skilled or very aware, you may not notice some of the finished products that we have in the market are derived from the recycling activity. So then the association registers all those people who are involved, from people who collect waste on the roadsides, people who run private corporate entities in regards allowed collection of waste, all the way to those who process, those who do value addition, and finally to those people who convert these fractions into finished products. So all of them are described as recyclers.
How many members do you have so far?
We have 3 categories of members. So we have members who actually enterprise in waste management activities. So currently we have 400, the last time I checked, 400 and below 417. We also have other members who operate at the very low tiers. These would be, the first category of our members would be waste pickers. We have 3 categories of waste pickers. We have the people you see walking around with bags on their back, which most people think those are entirely the waste pickers, yes, or scavengers if you like. We like to call them reclaimers because they play a very significant role in our value chain. Then we also have groups of young people. We encourage this very much, especially young people who are not engaged in any economic activities, who come together and work within their community towards providing the basic waste management activities. This would be like collecting in the informal settlements, putting waste together, and then they also do some other activities like composting, rearing poultry or livestock using these waste fractions. Then finally, we also have private service providers. These are corporate entities, properly registered companies, and they are providing these waste services within our community. So those are the waste pickers from my description.
Those are just the pickers?
Those are just the pickers.
The groups, the youth groups, the individuals who walk around picking, collecting
and the
garbage.
private service providers.
And the private ones, those ones that are licensed by City Hall.
Yes.
And other county entities.
Yes.
Well, you'll get some water shortly.
Sorry.
Paul Isana. So those are the ones. And then you said that's a second category of membership.
Yes.
Category number 3.
Yes, category number 3 are those very, very important value chain as well, because these people, you'll find that they the category that that monetize the value chain. These are micro enterprises that most times you find them operating in load sides and small, very, very small entities. What they do is that they take the weight of the mixed fractions that are brought by these collectors and waste pickers, and then they pay. They convert now the collected fractions into money. So they use the kilo unit as the basis for transaction. So these people, you'll find them playing the role of the intermediaries between those people who find value of waste on the load sides or wherever from their bins, and then those who now actualize the value in the waste. These would be now the third tier, the people who process, the people who entirely enterprise in specific types of value of waste.
So these are like the aggregators.
The aggregators.
They bring in from the various sources, they sort it, and then now they sell.
Yes.
To the ones who are going.
All type of waste that make financial sense, they buy, as long as it sells. So they buy to sell. So we call them the aggregators.
Okay.
Yes, they are the second tier.
Okay. And in total, 417.
Yeah, okay. So, yes. So, what I wanted to say is that the kind of membership we have within the value chain, as you go up, you formalize. As you go down, you get informal.
You informalize.
You lack structures. So, as you move toward the center, then you find there is some formality. Most aggregators are not as formal, but at least they have names. Quite different from the waste pickers, who sometimes don't need even to have names. I mean, you know them, especially we call them the waste pickers, the scavengers. But as you move up, then you find the aggregators. An aggregator will find a person, an ordinary person, having enterprised, is able to buy the whole day, segregate, and probably sell after 1 week. So there is an issue of business structures, like we bought mixed total of 300 kilograms. We were able to segregate into metals, plastics, sometimes food waste, and then they are able also to connect with the upper tier, which is now the specialized processors. Now, these specialized processors would come to the aggregator and correct the specific material fractions that they process.
Right.
So this would be somebody who does plastics, for instance, somebody who does metals, like scrap metal dealers, some people who are doing paper, used food, sometimes bones. So all these, they come to the aggregator to correct their fractions.
There's one aggregator that's just behind the Standard Group.
Yeah.
Big business. Several counters parked there every day. Now, James Odongo, the CEO of the Kenya Extended Producer Responsibility Organization, has joined us as well. James, good morning.
Good morning, Latiff.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Good to have you back in the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes.
This Extended Producer Responsibility Organization, what is it and what do you do?
Okay. So thank you first for, of course, granting us this opportunity. I think the conversation is quite critical during this time. It's good that it's happening when, for the first time in Nairobi, people are discarding their blankets. I think it's almost historical. The temperatures are rising, and so it would be stupid for us to assume that we can't have that discourse around what is our collective action around climate change and what effort can we do at an individual level to be able to really streamline the activities around climate change mitigation and adaptation. So in terms of the Kenya Extended Producer Responsibility Organization, a bit of history. Remember back in 2017, there was a ban of the single-use plastic carrier bags, and that prompted a conversation because there was an increasing appetite by the Kenyan government and of course the enforcement agencies to ban material fractions or packaging materials that were deemed to be stubborn to the environment. So based on that, there was need for a conversation spearheaded by the private sector. Of course, recognizing that you can't ban products into perpetuity, just that considering they, of course, ordinarily address a pent-up demand or a need in the society. So through the Kenya Association of Manufacturers and other private sector actors, a conversation was started where it was agreed that producers must take charge, support the government efforts in terms of realization of a clean and healthy environment. And so the concerted efforts culminated in this adaptation, or rather coalescing around of private sector and the government in a document we are calling the Kenya Plastic Action Plan that was in 2019. And this was sort of giving credence to the need for implementation of extended producer responsibility in the country. So KEPRO came in 2021 as the first multi-material producer responsibility organization as a voluntary scheme, where the idea was producers are coming in to support and inject some money into the environment just for us to be able to reclaim their material fractions. So we've been doing that since 2021. Then, based on the experiences from the private sector and the authority here in the National Environment Management Authority, they noticed there was a need for this to be a mandatory requirement, because we were having free riders in the ecosystem who were only either piggy-banking or leveraging on what others were doing and claiming that they were doing something. So that needed to be embedded in law. So that is when the National Sustainable Waste Management Act came into place. It was enacted in 2022 and now gives it weight in terms of it being a mandatory requirement. So Section 13 of the Act makes it mandatory for all producers introducing any product into the Kenyan market to institute mandatory extended producer responsibility requirements. So just to try and break it into a simple analogy, we are the Robin Hoods of the society, where we are collecting from quote-unquote the rich, here in the producers, and trying to cascade down the money or the resources down to the levels of our community to be able to retrieve as much amounts of waste as we can based on the available resources that we'll have received from our members.
So then you support the private sector enterprises
yes.
that are now members of Richard's association
yes.
to establish business
exactly
and to structure their businesses.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you take? Okay, let me ask you from this side, is that what do you give? What do you collect? What are folks collecting? Or are we saying that everything that is deemed to be trash or rubbish can be picked up and then sent for recycling or reconstituting? Or are there levels whereby you say, okay, well, this is what we will take and this is what we can then pass on to businesses?
Thank you. You realize that this industry is run by, it's a business. It is, okay, before this, what my colleague described, before the policy came in place, recycling existed. So what is going to happen now is that now when we work together with through the EPR regulations and the policy, then there will be requirement for specific materials to be collected. You find that our industry is running on demand, right? The normal market dynamics, whereby if you want a particular fraction, then I will provide. Let's say, for instance, you are a producer or you are a recycler and I'm a waste picker or a collector. Then you tell me I want scrap aluminum, for instance. Then I get the scrap aluminum for you as a industrial input, and then you pay me. But now this course that we are starting now with the PLOs like KEPRO is that we are finding that now the law requires that every producer will take responsibility for the fractions that emanate from the product that they bring into the market. So what we expect and what is already happening now is that the producer will be coming to work with the recyclers so that we collect all of them. All the fractions, all the waste that we are finding. And then, of course, we will be agreeing on where do we take this waste. In the instance where, because we have some fractions that are unconventional in recycling, then we are directed to take it to the landfill. Some of them, like the hazardous waste, are supposed to be incinerated. So after collection, then where it goes is now a product of how we agree with the producers and the government.
Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit. So let me understand. So what is, because you talked about, from level, there are levels, obviously. You've got waste pickers and you've got, aggregators, you go across. Processors. So if we're at the level of the waste pickers, are they only picking up product from certain businesses, or is it across board? Like basically anybody who is then in the association can go around the city and pick up anything and then bring it to the aggregators? Or are we saying, because we're looking at cyclical business, and I think we had a conversation about this last year, that you produce and you go around the whole cycle, so that at the end of the day, whenever it's done away with, somebody is then taking it and bring it back to recycle, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, are we talking about specific products of those businesses that are in this cycle? Or are we talking about across board? If it's across board, I'd be really excited. But
is a scavenger picking everything?
Everything, and can
or
bring
is a
it to an
scavenger
aggregator.
Contracted to,
Or do you say
I
these
produce
people?
bottles,
Yeah.
plastic bottles. I hire scavengers to only go looking for plastic.
Or tin cans? Or are we saying only this thing? Or bring everything to the aggregators and the aggregators will sort? How does it work?
We are aspiring to get to that level of engagement whereby those people who are going around collecting waste will bring everything, especially now we have two types of waste. We have the wet waste, organic waste, dominantly, and we also have the non-organics, like what you talked about, the metals and the plastics and paper. So we are moving towards a place where all waste will be collected, taken to an MLF. An MLF will be a place where all waste will be taken from homes or from offices to an MLF. So whether it comes through a waste picker, whether it comes through a private service picker, whether it comes through a private service provider, the first point of call is at the MLF.
Okay.
Now at the MLF, then the waste fractions are separated. For those that are complicated or difficult to recycle, then the producers will take responsibility in terms of disposing them in line with the regulations.
Right.
For those that are easy to recycle, or the ones that are conventionally being recycled, then they begin now the cycle, going up, back to the market, and back again. And the act that he referred to, the Sustainable Waste Management Act, is
United States certain agenda. They do it for the country. If Democrats comes in, they continue. Some of the find is a unilateral decision. Kama ni rais anasema hii ndio nataka.
So what material are we going to use? What is going to happen at the point of death? I mean, we call it the grief, the post-consumer stage.
Right.
Once it is done with consumption, what happens at that point? Are we going to take it to the landfill, or can it find value backward into the industry?
Okay.
Yep.
That's interesting. So what percentage, if you look at the circular economy now, for those businesses who already are clicked in here, what percentage of what is produced then is already earmarked for recycling? So you go in knowing that we are making this milk pack or whatever, and we know that the paper at the end of the day will be used for 1, 2, 3. What percentage of that at this point are we talking about that is already
I
set
think
aside?
Me trying to give a figure would be sort of trying to shoot my foot. We must realize that the Kenyan ecosystem has largely and predominantly been more of a linear economy, where we are focusing on production and by no intention or whatever, but almost deliberately focusing on production, consumption, and then disposal. So the intention of the new regulatory regime is that we are now going to realize a circular economy. So that means that we are starting at the very granular levels of ground up level, where we are starting to collect data, because that data is non-existent in terms of what is actually even being recycled. Focus was initially more on plastic, but now the EPR regulation is coming in and specifying all other material fractions. So you're looking at paper, aluminum, the difficult to recycle materials, these are the composites and the likes. So currently there is no factual data in terms of the reality as far as what is, to what levels are we circular. We are predominantly still a very linear economy, and that means we still don't have data in terms of the intention as far as design for recyclability and circularity is concerned. So presently there is no factual data. We only rely on some unverified or rather outdated data where we're saying our recycling rates are less than 15%.
So
And then
the data you rely on is almost predominantly anecdotal.
True. And worryingly so, based on the fact that what we have is actually more focusing a lot more on plastic.
Right.
We are not talking about these other material fractions that are also in the ecosystem.
It's interesting that we're using the word fractions to refer to waste.
I know.
So fractionally speaking, it's 7:30. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. We want to take a break now. James.
Yes.
You know of ICEA Lion?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
This is an organization, can you imagine, has been there for 60 years. And they're very big. And they're saying, actually, because we've been here for so long, we wanted to start thinking of a plan. Many people, when they talk about a plan, they're like, oh my God, do I actually have a plan? If I ask you, what's your plan? Like, plan about what? Do you have a plan? Well, yeah. And then you see other people and you know, the way we live, see like you're comparing yourself with other people and you're saying, these guys are doing better than me. These guys seem to have been sorted. This one seemed to have did it. Especially when there's an emergency and you see, wow, they actually were able to manage that emergency without having to form 79,000 WhatsApp groups and you're thinking, this person seemed to have been so organized.
Yes.
It's never too late to have a plan. And ICEA Lion are saying, okay, how about we just have a conversation? Let's talk about your future. Let's talk about your thoughts, your dreams, your aspirations. Let's help you create your plan. And it's not about anything. It's not about financial independence. It's not about your health. It's about everything. It's about your life. ICEA Lion says, come in, let's talk, let's have a conversation, let's help you move forward because ICEA Lion is here for you, here to help you make a plan. From as early as 18, 19 to as late as, City, how old will you be in the next 30 years?
In the next 30 years, I'll be 95.
That. To later than 95. Okay? Let's have a plan. ICEA Lion, it's icealion.co.ke. That's the website.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Oh, finally! It's my Standard Courier delivery.
At Standard Courier, we know that your time is valuable. That's why we guarantee swift and efficient deliveries to your doorstep every time. Give us a call on 0793 599 684 or schedule your next delivery by visiting our website www.standardmedia.co.ke/courier. Trust Standard Courier service for all your courier needs. We deliver with pride.
Looking for your favorite KTN station and just can't seem to find it? Well, you can watch all KTN channels on Pang. From the latest bulletins on KTN News Channel 5X0, heartwarming stories on KTN Home Channel 104, insightful agricultural content on KTN Farmers Channel 176, to the best of entertainment on KTN Burudani Channel 170. We have it all. Grab your remote, tune in to Pang and enjoy the variety of content we've prepared for your enjoyment.
Are you ready? The 9th edition of the Pulse Music Video Awards PMVA Gala is here with us.
The nominations are for the Best Group of the Year.
The gala will be going down on Wednesday, 21st of February at the Nairobi Street Kitchen. Who will be crowned as the best musician in Kenya?
And the winner is...
With 13 trophies to be won and lucrative prizes to the ego, who is going to be the star of the year? Don't miss out on Kenya's biggest music video awards, PMVA. Feel the beat.
On the beat.
Follow the action live on KTN Home from 10 p.m. PMVA Gala Awards.
The sun is up in all her glory. Nairobi this morning is 17 degrees, highs of 26 and lows of 16. We'll see lows of 13 in a mostly sunny Nakuru, going to highs of 30. And we'll see highs of 27 in a sunny Nyeri at 13. It's 12 degrees and sunny in Eldoret, highs of 26. And looking into a sunny Mombasa at 27, we'll see highs of 34. We'll go to highs of 33 in a cloudy Malindi at 27. Mostly sunny at 20 in Kisumu with highs of 32 actually, and we'll see highs of 32 as as well. In a sunny Kakamega at 17. It's 23 and cloudy in Kampala, highs of 30 and lows of 20, while in Dar es Salaam it's 28 degrees and sunny conditions will go to highs of 32. It's 18 and sunny in Johannesburg with highs of 31, and Mogadishu at 27 this morning is sunny with highs of 33. 13 and sunny in Addis Ababa with highs of 23 and lows of 11. Lagos is mostly clear this morning, already at 27, highs of 33, while looking into a partly cloudy Kinshasa at 25, we'll see highs of 34.
Are you ready? Okay.
Okay, we're getting into traffic hour, knocking on the door of it. Let's see what opens up this morning. Traffic on Magadi Road, there it is. Expecting that. Touching on what's coming in from Gong Road, and then, I beg your pardon, what's coming in from the Karen area. And then getting out towards Langata Road. So the southern bypass looks good. You might want to think about using that for all these other guys who are clogging up everywhere. So there's an option for you. And then who's this? This is coming off of, Gong Road, coming in from Gong Town itself. And then coming in through Karen, there's quite some traffic there. Let's look on the other side of Gong Road, whereby Naivasha Road is connecting with what's coming in, and then busy going towards Riara Road. And then everybody then now meets in Lavington. Coming in from Zima Springs, touching on Waiaki Way. Traffic there continues. Thika Superhighway, boom, boom, and one more boom. Traffic all the way from Garden City. This morning is bumper to bumper. So it is on Kiambu Road and Limuru Road getting into the CBD. Traffic hour proper is where we are right now. All right, where we bumping heads? Talk to us. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Richard Kainika, the Secretary General of the Kenya Association of Waste Recyclers, and James Odongo, who's the CEO of the Kenya Extended Producer Responsibility Organization. We are talking about waste management and getting to understand then what do we do about it. So we hear from Richard that the association is busy and it's tiered, from those who collect to those who sort to then those who deal with recycling and producing the final product. And that's big business, as I may hear.
Sure.
Now, James, does the new law talk about sorting waste at source? Mm-hmm. This is when we are producing waste. There's been this whole conversation of, divide, separate your waste in terms of paper, plastic, and the organics and blah.
Yes.
Does the law mandate us to do that?
Yes.
It does.
It does, more particularly under Section 14, where we are being mandated to segregate our waste at source. I think the Act goes further to prescribe punitive measures. You stand to be fined up to 20,000 Kenya shillings per offence.
Who? Me
you
or
at an
the
individual level,
private service provider? At household level?
Yes. Okay. And it goes further to indicate that now the waste management service provider should also not take up your waste if it's mixed waste. Yes.
How exactly is there going to be provision for you to segregate this waste at source?
Okay. So the intention, and we need to realize that, yes, we still have the Act, but you're waiting for the gazettement of the regulations. But the provision is that NEMA will be providing color codes for the different bins that we'll be using. At the initial level, we're going to be having the wet waste, the dry waste, and then the hazardous waste in a separate bin. And then the same will be replicated in the transportation vehicles for the different wastes. So we must also be cognizant of the fact that it will take time. I know you want to ask that, how will it work? Yes.
No, I think we're clear on how it will work. I just want to understand a number of things here. Because if we're talking about something that's already law, right?
Yes.
We're waiting for gazettement.
Yes.
But essentially, it is law.
Yes, it's
so
law.
The gazettement of the regulations, essentially, you want quote unquote as a formality.
True.
Because essentially what you're saying is now it has been made public, this is where it is going to be.
True.
The same argument that one Mr. Eric Latiff always makes here, that you want me to throw waste in a garbage bin, but you've not provided the things for me to be able to do that. How is that going to work? Number one. Number two, we're talking about the categorization of waste, whereby you can have the bins. That's fine. You can even get these motorized trucks where it even separates a thing. That's very good.
Yes.
But in terms of awareness, in terms of communication to people, in terms of what they're supposed to be doing, I think that also then comes into play here. How will that also then be rolled out? Bet you my bottom dollar, even the folks that are collecting, and maybe you can speak to that, they're not doing it for anything more than commercial value that is being given to them at the end of the day. Yes, because you collect so much in terms of kgs, whatever, I don't know how it's done.
You sell it.
Or you will sell it, even if it's not yours. They're not doing it because of, I mean, as callous as it sounds, it is really right now for the commercial value that's being given to them, is it not?
Yes.
You know, but here we're asking for a combination of factors. We want to make sure that we clean up the environment. We want to make sure that waste is managed properly, and that we can actually get into a recycling, system properly. And then we've gone ahead to make demands of communities for whom we've not shared information. Do we not see this as having gaps in it? Whether you'll gazette today or tomorrow, the old rickety things that would cause tetanus when you just look at it, that are collecting garbage, how is that going to then come into play as well?
True.
Okay.
So I think we are well aware of that. As an organization, we've been very deliberate on understanding what is actually the reality on the ground. So, and as you've said, the waste situation is a commercial engagement in our country. We can't shy away from that reality, and we must actually appreciate that narrative. That yes, we are actually starting to see a commercial sense to waste in our ecosystem. I think recently we saw it being estimated at around 54 billion USD.
What is 54 million USD?
Taka in Kenya.
In this country?
Yes.
That is the estimated value of it.
Of the waste ecosystem in Kenya.
54 billion.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got that one. It's a sixth of the SGR.
Yes.
I've got that one.
So
USD.
Yes.
Not shilling.
USD.
Yes.
Not shilling.
Not
God
shilling.
Almighty. It's not a sixth, is it?
No.
Okay, now who estimated this?
It is
the Ande.
Is it Unido or Ande?
Ande.
See, the reason why I asked the question, I like the estimate, but to assume that particular estimate has any bearing with reality, it means that they understand great details about waste in this country, isn't it? So the data that you said isn't available is available to some people, isn't it? Okay, now where do they get their data from?
So of course that is debatable, but we must be cognizant of the fact that some products are predominantly waste in terms of the ingredients. So paper is heavily recycled material, the rigid plastics and PET bottles. Some of course in Kenya we are yet to get to the points of food grade recycling, but there are certain material fractions that at the initial point of production you require.
Actually, where I'm going with this was this. If you have information, sometimes having data is all good and well, but it is not sufficient. How this data is analyzed, and how the product of that analysis is then used is sometimes of greater importance than the data itself. Because if right now you are doing what you're doing, but it's on the back of very many other efforts that have been made over the years with many environmental groups. I worked in Kisumu for a long time, in that region, and I did see of organizations who had gone as far as even providing these segregated bins for waste and so forth, and people had been trained within communities to do precisely that. I know because I engaged with some of these groups, and they were extremely well trained, and they knew what to do. And what was important, they also when I say community, it's like you go to Korogosho, that community. I'm not talking about north of the Nairobi River, I'm talking about south of it, okay? They were trained and they knew what to do. My concern is always this when we talk about things that need to be done and things which are important. Why is it that we don't make it mandatory that this is something that we teach our children? So that you have an entire generation of people who actually grow up knowing that this is how it's done. That it is not right for you to be in a vehicle and just toss things out. It is not right for you to look for the nearest wall to pee in if you're a man, okay? That it is not right for you to do the things we consider to be normal. Because even here, you'll find somebody eats and dumps something on that floor that you can see right there. that change cannot come about if this thing isn't taught from the earliest possible. Just like people understand 1 + 1, it's taught. If this is part and parcel of the curriculum so that it is taught, then all these efforts you're making, there'll be fruits now. But when these young Kenyans grow up, you will have the very thing that you want. But if it is not, this will be yet another wonderful effort, wonderful legislation, and we'll just get on with our nasty Kenyan environmental habits as we've done in the past.
Yeah, and sort of also responding to her queries is that based on the data that has been there over time, I think the unique thing about the current regulatory regime is that we are recognizing that the consumer is a primary stakeholder. So a lot more interventions need to be focused on the consumer. So this is where also KEPRO is coming in. And we are very deliberate. We recently launched the Consumer-Led Transformation Program, which is a multifaceted approach that will be targeting all the different aspects of, or rather sectors within our community. So you're looking at interventions at school level. So we'll be running school innovation and recycling challenges, where we are trying to leverage on the PESTA power, where a kid in school has learned on the benefits of recycling and innovation. Then they're coming at home and influencing masses. At home, you see if your kid comes in and says, no, dad, mom, we need to do this, you sort of have to listen to them. So that is the intention we have from our schools.
Is it going to be taught in school?
Yes.
Because if you have a club,
yes.
There was a science club when you were in school. There was one which, when I went to school.
Yes.
Okay? I was not a member of the science club. Okay? But science was taught. But those who were in the science club, because science was taught, remember and recall very many things because it was taught. I remember certain things because it was taught. I'm a dog with a bone on this one.
You want it to be a subject?
It has to be.
Or a unit in the subject?
Yes. If it is that important, it has to be taught.
It's actually, in the Act, it is required to feature in the curriculum, waste management. And back to the question you asked about perhaps how fast is it for us to do things the right way. Personally, my perspective is that Kenyans are generally a very compliant society. Sometimes it is easy for you to feel like we are very far from hitting the bullseye, so to speak. But I want you to consider the times when people used to smoke in the bus in Nairobi, those of us who are there those times. I mean, if you looked at it at that time, would you think that you could spend a whole day in the city without seeing somebody smoking a cigarette? Because now it happens. Yeah, I spent my 2 last days with somebody from the northern side of Africa, and I could see at some point he really wanted to take the puff, And I remember yesterday at some point in town, he literally had to light it up, and I was very worried because he's my guest for 2 days, and here he has the stick, it's smoking, he's in the city.
Public.
Let me ask you.
Yes.
Mentally, walk through the process of what was done in order for that to now be compliant. Just walk through the process.
It started at the policy point because I remember Honorable Ngiru, I think that time she was the health minister.
Yes.
It went through the policy, gazetted.
Yes.
Then the police swung in action. The issue of waste management has been left in the hands of the environment regulators, namely NEMA. And the county governments. And I don't want to say they are weak, but we know that they are not properly manned.
I will say it for you, Richard. They are weak. They're not weak because of weak structurally.
Yes.
But it's just weak in terms of weak not wanting to do things. And I want to come back, City. Our children know from us that it's wrong to throw away garbage.
Yes.
They know, we all know.
Sure.
Right? But it's because, and I come back, I'm also dog with a bone on this one. If you don't provide the facilities, people will do it. If we had facilities where we had color-coded bins in our neighborhoods, and everybody knows, we all know, we put takataka in the house, not anywhere. We put takataka in the house in a bin, in that designated black juala that has been provided by the service provider.
Yes.
We all know. We tie it, we remove it on certain days because it's going to be collected.
We know all that.
We know, and we follow that. And even the children know. I finish, my takataka goes in
Absolutely.
there. They already, because they can see by example. If we had the color-coded things, we would do it. But you don't provide it, we'll not do it.
But have you checked?
Where?
I know you are not like myself. Or when you find the segregated bins, the color-coded bins, wherever, go and peep inside and see whether people are compliant.
You see,
that's the point.
It's
actually.
about awareness.
Yeah, that's
if
the
you have
awareness,
not, you've provided the color-coded bins there and you've written whatever.
Yes.
But then there's no awareness of, okay, so what exactly am I putting in the yellow one? What am I putting in the green one? So when you say, this is organic, tell me what is
so
organic.
Right there.
Unataka mbegu, unataka
Right there.
maganda ya
It's
maembe.
important for us to take note.
Yes.
As he said, we are waiting for the national color coding scheme. It's supposed to come from NEMA. It's law. I mean, we don't know what we need to put in green today.
Okay.
You cannot take me to court because I did not segregate my waste today, technically speaking.
Absolutely.
So we are waiting for the scheme. And it was required by the act when it was enacted by the former president in July 2022. But to date, as we speak now, well, I'm not aware. We don't have that code.
I hear what you're saying. I do think that it's absolutely necessary to then have, and maybe you can speak to that, deliberate awareness about this. Because like you said, yes, I believe that there was a time where there were the coded dustbins, and if you were to go to it, everything went into everything, and it was all a mishmash of trash, right? But look at other jurisdictions whereby this happens around the world. It's not that they have two brains or two heads, but they were told this is exactly what needs to happen. This is where it is supposed to go. And it was consistent and it was over time. Until now, it's a no-brainer. Nobody even thinks. Just like the child who knows. I peel a banana, I'm in the house, I take the thing to the dustbin. It becomes second nature because it has been. I fear for a situation whereby the gazettement of those regulations will come out, and it'll come out with the big bag iron clanging of the law, and people will get in trouble for something that they've not been properly sensitized about. That's my fear. Unfacilitated. I don't have a problem. Bring swanky, but do look. Which color do you want? Violet. Bring. No problem. But my fear is that people then now will get in trouble for something that they've not been sensitized consistently about. For me, if you know, because like we said, it's already law, I would say we don't have to wait. Why are there not conversations today already about this thing that is coming? And I think that's our problem. We wait until the thing has come tomorrow. Then we say, oh, by the way,
we need to feature this story.
And it would be far more effective if you had started talking about it. So when it's gazetted, people are dealing with something they've already been told about, they know about. It's
Guys,
not new.
I take a different view.
Please do.
Talking about it, we know takataka. We all do not want takataka.
Yeah.
What we should be having a conversation about now is Sakaja and his people in Nairobi, and Abdul Swamad and his people in Mombasa, and all these other urban areas and rural areas to start investing in those facilities. John Gakuo provided a place for you to go and smoke. When the law was now in effect, you knew, don't smoke anywhere. There's a designated smoking.
Yes, they even put a bench. They even put a bench for you to sit.
Benches for you to sit there. When John Gakuo told Askaris go and arrest people who were throwing takataka, he had worked on providing dustbins.
Infrastructure.
Facilitate. If we're talking about investment in all this, and then you say now the regulations from tomorrow do not. If I know there is a dustbin here and it's I've been told green is for maganda ya mandizi, I'll put maganda ya mandizi in the green. I have a brain.
So, okay.
I want to say here that yes, our association, one of the very, very core objective is education and creation of awareness and public sensitization. But as an association, we've realized that it is almost impossible for us alone to do this. Public awareness is I think you guys are the masters, but we need to work together because we could bring the technical side.
Yeah.
You bring what you have. We need the church, the school, the police, the government. Every person should be involved, and every part of the society should come. We need to come together towards this because as long as we are alive, we are generating waste. At any given time, right now, From the moment I sat here, I'm generating waste through this package. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, for us as recyclers, when we engage with the industry, we want to get every package, every waste converting to a resource, a raw material, so to speak. When we go back to our homes, we want everything to be channeled to the bins. But the doing, the activity of getting there is very, very complicated. And it's for everyone. I think when we talk about this here, we also need to consider our society. We have 3 levels of society, so to speak. We have the very low, like those who live in the informal settlements. We have the middle level, and you have the upper level. We usually don't have a lot of problems with people living in the high income areas. But we have a serious problem with the low income areas for obvious reasons. Because these people, even if you were to provide bins for them, where would they put the bin? You know? Secondly, currently people are paying for waste collection. We know that the municipalities are no longer doing what they were doing those times. So some of these people are not even able to pay for the services. And I know of areas where residents are paying 20 shillings. So the person who receives the 20 shilling coin, really cannot transport that for more than 200 meters. So they put it in the hard cut, do one corner and dump it on the roadside. Because that is as far as that money can provide. Yes, they pay 20 shillings. So leave alone the bin, even where to put that waste, even if it was for free. Do we have that infrastructure in place?
Comes back to?
And that is how the waste finds itself in rivers. The laboratory being put in the river.
I want to ask a question about safety of everybody who's working in this industry of yours, from those who collect to those who handle at the aggregation point to those who are handling this waste at the processing point. Does the law talk about their welfare? Because just talking about waste, it means that they are exposed to various hazards, health hazards, biochemical, whatever. Does it talk about the welfare of the workers in your sector? Or does the association bring in members and talk about how this is how we are going to ensure the welfare of our workers?
Yeah, this industry is very, very young. In terms of robbing, I would say that the people we are talking about are people who are doing what they are doing so that they find their meal for today. It's not about the next weekend. Just like the birds wake up in the morning to get food that they consume at that moment for that moment. That is how our industry is, especially at the lower value chain. So to answer your question, it is a big no. Talk about the government and the waste pickers and the waste processor, and then the government really is not there yet. We commend the government very much for the act, the Sustainable Waste Management Act, but it is still not enough, because implementation is really where we meet. We also call on the government to now come to the implementation stage. As my colleague said, we are eagerly waiting for the gazettement of the Extended Producer Responsibility Regulations. We don't know why the gazettement is taking so long.
2 years.
Because we invested a lot of our time, we contributed a lot in the technical committees, but the document now is done.
Let me ask you,
yes,
because you are the ones who are involved in this. Does the association and all its members fully support the gazettement of regulations?
Yes.
So there is no sabotage coming from your side?
No, absolutely. We are concerned why it is not being gazetted, because we have industry and we're working together. This is the producer responsibility organization. The producers are ready and set. And we have worked on pilot programs, and they were very successful without regulations. The producers have shown a lot of willingness to work with the waste pickers and the waste recyclers. The government gave us the policy, the act, it is in place. But we cannot implement when we lack the regulations. Now we have no communication, and I'm saying this with the interest of my members. We have no communication as regards what is it that we are waiting for. But the regulations not being there, the bottom line is you do what you sometimes, somebody can make noise, but they lack the basis to prosecute.
You can't enforce.
So issues to do with safety and occupational safety, health for our people. These people are looking for blood. They are not looking for, making money for gumboots and grabs and whatever.
Yeah.
And that is where we think that once the EPL is in place and every activity is put in the right position, then probably whatever comes in as incentives is going to help in those areas.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Richard Kainika is the Secretary General of the Kenya Association of Waste Recyclers, while James Odongo is the CEO of the Kenya Extended Producer Responsibility Association. It's an organization, yes, responsibility organization. 8 a.m. news time.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. The Council of Governors now say the devolution has been crippled by the national government. Speaking in Naivasha at a retreat led by President William Ruto, Chair Anwai Guru blamed the national government for failing to disburse county funds worth more than 33 billion shillings on time.
The message from the governors is this: they support your government. They are supporting the development agenda, the plan of the Kenya Kwanza, but they are urging that they be given their due space to be governors and to deliver on devolution.
What Guru further warned of a looming crisis if the national government kept on interfering with county roles and functions.
It can never augur positively on this government. Let it not be that this government is the one that clawed back. And we have worked very hard to restrain from having fights publicly. Other than the issue of even resources, think politics. This country had reached a place where it was almost breaking because of centralization of power. And if we claw back everything, it may not happen now. It may not happen in 5 years. It may not happen in 10 years. But there will be a revolt by the people because we will go back to the problems that we had before devolution.
The government on its part has, however, defended itself by saying that the dilapidated economy is to blame for the delay in disbursement of county funds.
You should never have any doubt as to our support for devolution. With all the, pull and push, which politics is all about, there is pull and push even between our own ministries. One ministry goes off to do something for another ministry. So these tough, little wars, if I may say, are natural in politics. So there is always this, these kind of things. We must never mistake those kind of things as any part of government trying to claw back or to work against the next level of government.
The 7 camps as the 3-day retreat, which kicked off on Monday, is set to come to an end today. And one person is nursing serious injuries at Kapinguria Referral Hospital after a private vehicle lost control and barged into his house while he was sleeping last night. Police have launched a manhunt on the driver, who escaped right after the incident and is suspected to have been ferrying stolen wood.
Ilikuwa ni usiku wa manane, tulipokuwa tukilala tukasikia makelele ya ngurumo, tukatoka nje. Baada ya kutoka nje tukaona ni gari imekuja kutoka pasipo kujua inatoka wapi. Tukaona ni ajali imefanyika, ikagonga nyumba ya mtu na huyo mtu akahudhurika kifo. Kwa hivyo wakamkimbi, tukashughulika yeye kupeleka hospitali. So hatujui ni gari yenyewe ilikuwa inatoka wapi, ndio tunaomba serikali watusaidie.
Detectives in Nairobi have detained 4 police officers in connection with human trafficking after 37 Ethiopian nationals were found in a house in the Okoh area of Kayole. The Ethiopians were discovered during a multi-agency operation led by the DCI's Transnational Organized Crime Unit with support from police officers from Githurai. According to authorities, the individuals were discovered sleeping on the floor inside one of the houses at the time of their arrest. The incident comes barely a week after another one where 16 children were also found in a house in a suspected syndicate of child trafficking. Police have netted 531 kilograms of bhang in Migori with an estimated street value of over 15 million shillings. DCI detectives say they managed to arrest 26-year-old Molenta Adhiambo despite two male suspects, including the owner of the product, escaping. Detectives added that 9 sacks of cannabis sticks, cannabis sativa sticks, and another 8 containing the unrefined drug were found at the home. And finally, the government, through the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, has welcomed Kenyans aged 18 to 35 to enroll for a free training program dubbed Finya Computer Itoe Dola. The ministry states that the program will teach free courses covering data entry, digital marketing, virtual assistance, and artificial intelligence for graphic design. The 4-day training is set to start from March 4th to 8th and will run from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Obake.
Then taxation has to have a limit. When you start overtaxing people beyond certain limit, then this is now we call robbery with violence.
We are all struggling, but we don't show. If you're not doing well, shame on you. But you have to say, I'm broke and I'm struggling. We are not okay until everybody is okay.
We are pretending to have political parties. Why don't we just be honest? And we say, these are the Luyas, these are the Kambas, these are the Kikuyus, and we find ourselves in Kenya.
You know, with politics and leadership, no matter what you do, there will always be a complaint. There will always be the assumption that you're either stealing or you're not doing things right. As a leader, don't fear. If you know you're doing the right thing, you've thought about it, you've got an expert advice, do it, then understand later.
This country, we don't need prayers. Prayers is between you and God. Good governance and thinkers who care about the country and not their stomach.
That's what we need.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Patrick Lodge, Otieno Lumumba. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
CT Muga.
CT Lodge.
Muga,
not Muga.
He's here and here's the day's proverb.
One man marries a woman. Another man marries troubles. Is he the same man?
Spice.
A lion cannot eat more than 2 donkeys. It would die a natural death because there is no ICU in the forest. In Kenya, it has become the situation that you cannot conduct 2 elections. In fact,
with the same IEBC.
You can't.
I tell you about this Indian friend of mine who was enjoying other Indians in the group. He wrote the word valve and told them, read it.
So how did he say it? I really want to know.
The valve. Because kina Ednah, it's the, like you've said, the B's and the P's. Kila kitu mkisia kisema atasema opposite.
Opposite?
Ukisema hii anasema opposite.
Opposite.
Ukisikiliza namna hii unasikia opposite.
All right, it's 8 o'clock. Traffic still pretty heavy coming off the Thika Superhighway. Let's just take a closer look at that. Coming in through towards the junction at Outer Ring, that's heavy. It's heavy all the way through past Survey and then out towards the junction between Murang'a Road and Wangari Maathai. So it's also busy on Limuru Road coming into the city all the way from the village market, touching on Muthaiga, then out towards, again, Wangari Maathai. So that's pretty busy as we look at it coming in from 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th Parklands Avenue. All of that clogs up into the city. Jogoo Road is also busy, going towards Landis, out towards Kamkunji at the roundabout. And now we see a build-up of traffic on Langata Road, and it's a standstill as you get then to the junction of Raila Odinga Way. So that's all happening this morning. Take a breath. We'll see how we can get through it. Talk to us if you need any examples of alternate routes. My long-standing alternate route, the Southern Bypass. Scenic route into the city, no traffic, such things. Try it. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning and welcome to the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. This is The Situation Room. We are live on SpiceFM, on KTN Home, on YouTube, or on Facebook. And we thank you very much for choosing this as the way to start your day every weekday morning. Do you have a plan? If you don't have a plan, don't worry. If you have a plan, well done. Maybe it's also time to review the plan and see, is the plan planning? If it's not, you can also replan it. ICA Lion says, let's talk. It's not about, talking. There are people who come and tell you, oh, buy insurance, oh, buy this product, oh, put this money here. No. We start from a conversation. What is your plan? Can you create a plan? Can we help you develop a plan? Can we help you then run with this plan? And that's what ICA Lion has been doing. 60 years in the country. And they're like, okay, how about we actually now come up with a new conversation, a new journey towards telling everybody, do not look at somebody else's plan and feel like you're inadequate. You can have your own plan and you will be adequate. I speak like a leadership coach, huh?
Yeah, well,
motivational speaker.
Think about it.
I could do something. No, we have someone who's actually a very good one at that. Who is our next guest? A certified executive leadership and EQ coach. She is also the CEO of Reemerging Impact Associates. She is a former cabinet secretary for various ministries, in charge of water, in charge of health. What else?
Public service, youth, gender.
You see, wait. She was a minister in government. Cecily Karaoke is our next guest. Good morning.
Good morning.
Every time we meet somebody new for the first time in the year, somebody for the first time in the year, we say Happy New Year. It doesn't matter whether it's October or February. So Happy New Year.
Fantastic. Happy New Year to you.
How you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. And thanks for having me this morning.
Karibu sana.
Asanteni.
We are here so we can learn lessons that you learned in the very many years of public service, in very many years serving at various levels of public service, and then joining the top level of government in cabinet. And then you'll tell us what you've been doing recently. Okay? But they first of all took a break and all. But CT will welcome you with the day's proverb. This week, the proverbs are from Ghana. And the president of Ghana is called Nana Akufo-Addo.
Yes.
Which one has the hyphen? Nana hyphen Akufo?
It's
or Nana
Akufo hyphen.
Hyphen Addo.
Good.
Yes, what's that hyphen for, really?
It's possible that he took his mother's name. Very possible. Or his clan name and then his father's name.
So what is he, appeasing the ancestors?
Appeasing somebody. So it's one of those two. His mother's name or his clan name and then his father's name. Yeah.
But those who come from his clan or come from his mother's clan would know.
Yes.
Okay.
As long as there's somebody who understands it.
That's what's important.
Okay.
Ghana, in a previous time known as the Gold Coast. And this proverb has 4 parts to it. But I prefer saying it has 3. Then when I say the 4th one, I'm adding a bonus. Right. It is the human being that matters. 1. I call gold, it does not answer. 2. I call cloth, it does not answer. 3. It is the human being that matters. 4. That's the proverb.
Cecily, when you hear this proverb, what comes to mind? How do you interpret it?
Well, I guess it just like it's put, it's a human being that matters. It's not the material stuff around you. It is not things that are, that we spend our lives chasing after. At the end of the day, it's really life. It's about human beings, about you, the person, the connectedness, the value that we attach to each other as people, the relationships that we build. as people, regardless of what it is we have, finally, it's the humanity around us, I think.
Point well made. These things may have some importance, but you see, when someone has a reference point of conversation in the proverb, the reference is to inanimate objects that cannot talk with you or talk back at you. Yet they're significant, but when it comes to a hierarchy of importance, they're not as important as people.
It's true. And it's a big one. Okay. You served in government for many years as a cabinet secretary. 2015 was it that you first joined?
From cabinet 2015, yes.
And then you left in early 2022.
To be precise, on 9th of February 2022.
To venture into politics.
Yes.
How did that go?
It went very well, really. I mean, it went very well. I was responding to a lot of invitations from the people of Nyandarua. I had done a lot of independent, if you will, service to really try and interrogate whether I was all right. You know, leaving cabinet office, it's not one of those very obvious offices, so you really struggle to leave if you have to leave. But because of, one, the facts and the data that I had gathered 6 months before I resigned, and the conversations that I had with the people, I did feel like it was important for me to, throw in the ring and get going. For two reasons. One, having served at the highest level in government, it was really time for me to do a 360 and go back to the grassroots and be able to serve there. Because I still do believe that I'm able to demonstrate some different governance template for running a county at that point, but also drawing the experience that I had, gathered over the years. And it was many years. 30 years is a long time in leadership. And therefore, I did believe I had something different to offer. Yeah. I still do believe. It went well. I mean, it was high tempo, very high tempo, because if you will, I was the last cabinet minister to resign to go and try. So I didn't have the advantage of time, and therefore I needed to employ some very innovative strategies at the ground level. But I found a lot of favor with the people. But 4 days before the D-Day, for gubernatorial candidates names to be submitted to IBC, I started receiving some very interesting visitors and very interesting calls. And a decision needed to be made, and the decision was that most likely I wasn't going to secure the certificate. I was running on Jubilee. I wasn't going. There were two of us, the incumbent and myself. And therefore, of course, I was very, very disappointed, because all the time, the nuances that I was getting, the feedback, the conversations were telling me a different story, and the ground was telling me a different story as well. Now, tricky thing is that it was so tight that I didn't have any wiggle room to move in as an independent candidate, because there was one day.
Whoa. The time did well, didn't they?
Completely. I mean, this is what politics is about, right? 4 days before I had conversations, and I had been assured that everything was running on well. So no wiggle room, nor fallback position, any other offer that had been given previously. It was too late in the day anyway. And so I very quickly decided it's not a morning season. It's a disappointing season. It's not a morning season. I'll live to fight another day. And I very, very quickly moved off the ring, spoke to my supporters. Everybody was extremely, very, very disappointed. My family was, and everybody who had come in to support me in terms of finances or their time. But that's what it is. It taught me huge lessons, which I have taken out, which I have used in the last 2 years quite reasonably well. And here I am.
And here you are. It was your first foray into elective politics, was it?
At a personal level, yes. But I would be lying if I say I wasn't very actively involved with politics, because I was involved with the politics of the third president, Mwai Kibaki, in the back room. I was involved quite directly with the politics of President Uhuru Kenyatta, including getting the youth, the women vote out in 2017, and also getting the vote out of, I belong to one county, I call it the county of my love, that is Nyandarua, that's where I got married, but also the county where I was born in Embu. and those were my two, if you will, command spaces. And I removed the vote so hard that Nyandarua ended up with the highest percentage for the presidential vote at that point. And so I had interacted with politics, because it would be very difficult for you if you haven't interacted with politics and you actually think you are jumping in for the first time. It would be a very risky thing. I think you need to have a good appreciation of how things happen and how market can get, and So yes, I had been involved, but not directly for me. And obviously I became a beneficiary of the same.
With the appointments.
Previously.
But then, when you were not then shocked, when you saw what I'm sure at that point you considered betrayal, at that point you considered a bad judgment, you were not shocked. You had been in the back room. You had seen politics being played as dirty as you saw it being played on you.
Yes, really. But it was my season now. But I even as I stepped off, because I had reason to act, naughty and stubborn and everything, I said, there comes a time that you pay the price of being loyal. And I knew very well, that Jubilee was not the party. Even as I resigned, I knew it was going to be hard work because of, the conversations that were happening. Not so much, a combination of both, the wave, but also the conversations that I was having with people on the ground. They didn't feel like Jubilee had outlived its usefulness, and therefore. So I knew it was going to be a little bit uphill. But the conversation I had with them is that it's not so much the party really, so it doesn't matter. But it so happens that two of my colleagues who are in my team are currently members of the County Assembly of Nyandarua, and a third one who was not directly with me. One was my advisor in office. One was actually one of my support pillars in one of the wards. And we did also secure 2 members of parliament out of 5. It therefore confirmed to me it wasn't so much the party, the Jubilee, and the wave and what have you. It was also much more the person. And so even as I stepped out, one of the ways of not dealing or dwelling with the past is that, yes, I've paid the price of loyalty. I am not too sorry, because somebody also has to demonstrate, even in politics, although it's untidy, they say it's very dirty, you can still have some reasonable good behavior.
Some integrity to go with.
Absolutely.
Looking at the times when you actually did serve in government, and want to be able to do a comparison between those times and what is happening now, it's very easy for us to point fingers. It's very easy for us to lay blame about things that could or could not have gone wrong, or that things that are currently going wrong, where it would appear as though folks in the driver's seat don't have a handle on things. You sat in key ministries at those times, and different things happened in those ministries over those years. Things did not happen as well. What would you say are some of the things that stood out for you, whether it was working under water, whether it was working under health, the things that public service, gender, that you did or did not do, and what was the wherewithal that put you out as one who was able to lead?
That's many things, put in one paragraph. But some of the things that really stood out for me in the various dockets ending up with water, if you will, is getting engaged and involved and the commitment to ensure that you deliver on the promise. And there were systems and mechanisms that we held ourselves accountable to ensure that we delivered to the extent that it was possible. Now, when I look at what's happening right now and what happened at that point in time, it's possible because I moved to cabinet towards either when we were struggling to be re-elected, 2016, 17, and therefore we needed to demonstrate absolute good behavior to the Kenyan people, because then we knew it was about being voted back or losing it all the same. So I do recall in my own case that it was real, tangible, quantifiable, measurable interventions that were delivered to the citizens. And that is why it was not very, very tough to get a second term for President Uhuru Kenyatta. Now, I want to imagine that the team in office currently assumes they have a bit of time. And I'm expecting that maybe in the coming 1 year, we'll start seeing some better behavior than what we have seen in terms of then endearing themselves and getting back to the people, because I want to believe they will be looking for a second term in office. And therefore, timing sometimes gave different kind of behavior, but we were possessed about making a difference to the lives of the Kenyan people.
Are you saying that possession has not overtaken those who are sitting in those positions today?
I would be not too fair if I spoke for them, because I've not sat in their cabinet. I actually hardly interact with them.
Against some of the words that you used, especially when you said demonstrable, measurable things that you can actually say. It's not about the person, it's about the things that you see. Use that to be able to say, would that now convince Kenyans that they've been gripped with this passion that you speak about?
You know, the conversation on the ground, and I spend quite a handsome amount of time in Nyandarua, is that Kenyans are struggling. They're struggling because the economy hasn't behaved in the manner that they were promised when we were doing the campaign. And I'm talking about the current government. So it's kind of gone to the opposite direction. And therefore they are struggling and they are feeling cheated, and they are feeling not, being taken for granted, number one. Number two, speaking to them, including one who has just been here, is that when you keep on dwelling on what you inherited and the gaps that there were, and thinking Kenyans are going to be pacified because you're saying, we came in, we found an unfunctioning, it's not going to take you anywhere. The reason leadership changes is for you to actually come and say, I'm going to fix this. That is why I'm the leader here, tough as it is. But when you keep on telling us excuses of the teams that were there, the leader who was there, I think that gets everybody very tired. And I haven't stopped myself even at the local level from telling the government, we are watching, we are going to hold you accountable. And because that is why you're a leader. The business of the citizens vis-a-vis the people leading them is to hold them accountable, to keep reminding them, and I have not been shy in terms of reminding them that,
I think we can draw direct parallels then between that and a time where you were there, which is why I asked the question, because in a position where somebody's demanding of you as Ms. Karaoke to say, look, this is where you are. This is where you are under the health docket. What have we seen? 1, 2, 3 that we can say, under her watch, this happened or this did not happen. When you sit under the docket of what, this happened or this did not happen. And so, how was it for you when and if people held you with the same now unit of measure that you're now demanding of leaders today?
It's interesting you say this, because if I just take a quick flashback and look at my days in water, by the time I left office, I handed over a report with 650 completed projects. I'm very happy because I've seen some of them being commissioned now while I am sitting on this side. I'm quite excited about that. So I'm hoping in another 5 years, I will be able to come and see 650 projects complete, being also delivered to Kenyans, because we still are in need of water. We are in need of a lot of sanitation projects. We are in need of a lot of irrigation projects. So that I can quantify and say, this happened within this season. 650 between Narok, between Mombasa, between this and the other, and several others that were, I recall breaking ground even personally. They are going on. So 5 years down the line, I'm sure they will be handed over to Kenyans for their use. If I look back at health, one thing that pleases me, never mind, there was a lot of disruption because of COVID. COVID set in when we were about to scale up on the UHC, which we had done a successful pilot project under my leadership. When it came to leaving, I had put in a technical team of experts, independent, and they turned NHIF upside down and ask questions of how do we restructure NHIF so that it can respond to the health needs of Kenya. It is that report which has been pulled out by the current team, and I'm also very, very grateful that they didn't need to get started. There was a report, there was a template in terms of policy, and they came and said, so what can we tweak? They tweaked a bit, because when you look at, say, the 2.75 what do you call it?
Contribution.
The contribution.
Okay.
That was not the idea of my report and the experts' idea. we recommended for the Social Health Insurance Fund, yes, by the same name, but we proposed that the funding should come from the consolidated fund with a proper targeting mechanism to identify the needy and those who can be able to afford. We did also propose that I am sitting here as a cabinet minister. It's not equitable or fair for me to be paying the same rate as you sitting on this side. So we are going to have a graduated kind of contribution, not into the kind of percentages which I have come to see now. So yes, the principles were there, the concepts were there. I'm very glad they have made very good use of that report. We could speak about other different issues because the community health promoters who are currently being put on some kind of stipend, some allowance to be able to give us primary health care and interaction with the population was also part of what it is we worked on and put in a policy in place. So a couple of stuff that happened at that point in time. Go back to NYS, because again, during my first tenure as cabinet minister, I was responsible for the youth and NYS as well. At that point in time, we did put in a very robust, if you will, mechanism to get the youth out of the communities, to take them through the NYS community service and training. I have seen again my colleague and friend Moses Kuria coming up and saying we're going to scale up the numbers because we need these same concepts, different time. We only want them to be moved to proper execution and hopefully sustained execution for that matter.
Let's take a break at 8:30. Our guest this morning is Cecily Kariuki. She's a former cabinet secretary. She was in public service, women, gender and youth. She was in health. She was in water. She was gunning for, what position was it? It was governor of Nyandarua County.
Governor of Nyandarua.
And cash crop in Nyandarua ni? Maru. In case you forget, it is that Nyandarua. Soko Mjinga is in Nyandarua, by the way. You know?
I am aware. I am aware.
Mawaru, cabbage, kila kitu.
Half of it is in Kiambu, right?
Yeah, a bit of it is in Kiambu. And then the Soko. The Mjinga is in Kiambu. The Soko.
Sokompia. We call it Sokompia.
Like, you must make Waru relevant. Tell them, chips.
Kumbe chips ni Waru.
Absolutely.
EcoBank is a Pan-African bank. Cecily, you know about EcoBank, I'm sure. It is in 35 countries in Africa and 4 countries outside Africa. Go.
Indeed, 4 countries outside of Africa. Let's look at those: China, the UK, France, and the UAE. And 35 different markets in Africa. So that means it's a plug and play, essentially, onto the platform whereby you operating in Kenya, for example, around the many branches that are available here. But then it doesn't matter if you were to go to Sierra Leone tomorrow, or if you were to go to actually N'Djamena the day after that, you would then be able to plug in as though you were in the same place. And because they've created that platform, essentially you can operate from wherever you are, making your seamless transactions continue as though you never left. All right, so 14,000 employees around these 39 different markets, and saying, you know what, it's a better way to do business because it's a better way, it's a better Africa.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Some very nice, mature music.
It really took me back to my days, and I can just feel and enjoy.
Nairobi, highs of 27 and lows of 16. We'll see highs of 30 and lows of 16 in a sunny Nakuru. And it's sunny at 16 in Nyeri with highs of 28 and lows of 14. Eldoret is sunny at 16, highs of 27 and lows of 15, while in Mombasa, sunny conditions at 25 with highs of 34. 33 is what the high will be in a partly sunny Malindi at 29. Kisumu sunny at 20 and Kakamega is sunny at 19. Out in Kampala, the sun is up at 24, highs of 30, while Dar es Salaam will see highs of 34, where it's mostly sunny at 29. 21 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 31, while in Mogadishu at 29, sunny, highs of 33. It's 16 and sunny in Addis Ababa with highs of 24 and lows of 11. It's a clear morning in Lagos with highs of 33, and Kinshasa's partly sunny at 25. It'll go to highs of 34. roads. Still busy on the Thika Superhighway this morning, and North Airport Road coming in from Cabanas out towards Outer Ring. Busy right about now. The Eastern Bypass drama seems to have come to an end. That has fizzled out. Hopefully it doesn't come back, at least not now. I'll take a look at what's going on the Thika Superhighway because that was a bit of a trouble spot for some folks today. Still at that survey area going towards the Pangani underpass, that seems to be pretty busy. Kiambu Road also still doing the thing. And as you approach the Muthaiga Country Club, there's traffic there as well. Who would have thunk it? Keep an eye on things. Let's see. SpiceFM KE on X. # the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 9. Our conversation continues with Cecily Kariuki, former Cabinet Secretary. She's now the CEO of Reimagine Impact Associates and also a certified executive leadership and EQ coach. What does that mean, though?
Which of the many?
Let's start with the certified executive and leadership and EQ coach.
No, so perhaps just a little bit of background. So when I left the political spaces and the trenches, I came back and I needed to walk on a journey of reinvention. And I said, I've always had this passion of mentoring other leaders and sharing my experience. And I said, the best way to do it is not to come out and say, you know, I've been a minister, I've been a PS, I've been a CEO. It's good for me to package in a manner that I'm able to deliver my lived experience, but importantly, bring in new concepts in leadership. And therefore, I quickly came back and enrolled for a global diploma in leadership coaching. And so, you know, a couple of months down the line, I was then certified as a global executive leadership coach with a diploma. But alongside that, I also thought, as I was going through the motions of picking new leadership concepts, I did feel the need to interrogate and see what were my missed opportunities as a minister. What kind of leadership did I demonstrate, and how would I have handled it better for even better, excellent outcome? And so I quickly came across a concept of emotional intelligence in leadership and how emotions drive decisions, and therefore how leaders really should be emotionally intelligent, let alone the technical aspects of intel. And so I quickly took a program and I went back to school, if you will, and I took a certificate as an EQ practitioner. So I got certified also as well. Emotional intelligence is about everything in life, so to speak. You're either an accountant, you're a marketer, you're a journalist. But for you as a leader to be able to inspire teams to work optimally, there is that missing middle, which is the emotional intelligence, which is about you as a leader, saying, are you aware of your limitations and strengths? Because I've challenged leaders, and I've said, especially in the political spaces, you think that you must know everything and must have all the answers. And I keep on encouraging them that you must not have all the answers. That is why you have people around you. And that is why you can go for experts to be able to come and fix the bit that you are not good at. But you go there, you've seen people on camera, you've seen people on TV pretending they can give us solutions even for things they don't understand. You appointed a minister today, nobody takes you through class to understand how a minister should behave, for example. But you come and want to lie to 50 million Kenyans that indeed you have the answers. You think you're next to Jesus, you're an angel. And so emotional intelligence is about telling yourself, I must not know everything. I need to keep myself around with people who know these other things, number one. Number two, I must be vulnerable enough to also say, I don't understand that. Latiff, I don't understand this issue. I really don't. And therefore, I'm looking for help. But importantly, a subject I've spoken to in emotional intelligence, when you're a leader, we miss an opportunity, especially in the public spaces, because we've been in a very command-control environment. Do as I say. I'm directing. I want that report. What that does is that you actually curtail creativity, and people do only as much as they can do because they're waiting for you to give the next command, and then they will, answer. But when you allow them to feel empowered, valued, and you give them some reasonable safe space, they actually go out of their way and operate as if they're in the private, optimal private sector companies, because they feel engaged, they're empowered, they are valued, they are opinions matter. And therefore, emotional intelligence is about the awareness of you as a leader. The self-awareness is also about the awareness of people around you and the teams that you're leading and how you're able to engage, inspire them and get them going. It's also about combining your weaknesses, their limitations, or your limitations, their weaknesses, bringing in technical data into any decision that you make. We call that emotional reasoning, among other competencies. So I went and I'm very privileged that I took the time to be able to go deep and understand this, because anytime I engage with leaders, including the political leaders, this is kind of the competencies and skill set that I'm encouraging them to develop. Beauty is that they are easy to develop if you really want to change behavior. But if you think what you're doing is the right thing, then you'll come and shout at us and go home in the evening, as opposed to coming and being empathetic and saying, you know, what are Kenyans going through today? High cost of living. How? Is there any hope? Are you people being arrogant around how you are resolving? Or we can go and take tissue and hang ourselves up? Or, you know, are you being empathetic as you engage with the population? So that is what it is about now. The executive leadership coaching, the other component, is really about helping you as a leader at whatever level to believe, one, in yourself, that you have the solutions in yourself. And that my role as a coach is to help you to discover that which is within you, and to be able to get it out as you make decisions and execute, as opposed to me mentoring you and telling you, when I was a minister of this and the other, this is how I approach this, and therefore you need to go and approach it the same way, because then I'm limiting you to my failures or what it is I didn't get right. But when I am your coach, I indeed partner with you, and through powerful questioning, you are able to I hadn't thought about it that way, kind of thing. I'll try that. So that it is really you discovering, building the confidence, and doing it. Fail once, that's all right. Get up and say, what if I try this other way? Now, you come to me as your coach and interrogate your thoughts. You bounce back your thoughts in terms of the approach you want to take. And I'll be able to encourage you, you could try 1, 2, 3. But I don't have the recipe. I don't have the answers as your coach. You have them. But I give you a safe space to be able to come and see. I'm working with a couple of ministers away from Kenya. I must be very quick to say that. I'm working with a couple of leaders away from Kenya, a few from Kenya at the executive level. And it's amazing how they are able to discover very obvious things. But because they didn't allow themselves some safe space to reflect, introspection, with an expert who nudges them on, they'll come back and say, I don't believe it. I mean, delegating to my teams was my biggest headache. I always continued being a medical doctor. Never mind, I had been given the role of now leading a department. It looks so easy, but I never thought about it that way. So that is a work that I do most of the time these days.
When you, with the knowledge you now have, and you introspect, what could you have done better?
I'd have empowered teams in the public sector more than I did. And I did discover the difference between me running the Ministry of, say, Health and the way I run the Ministry of Water. Because at that point, the discovery was had already started evolving in me, that empowering teams, actually, they get it done in shorter time. You have better relationships, and therefore more inspired, more motivated.
And you achieve more.
I achieved a lot more, that I must say.
Is this perhaps what began the journey of the book you then went to write? Your memoirs, so to speak.
No, really, my book was inspired by worse things.
Is it possible to mention some of these worst things so that we get an insight into some of the trials and tribulations that people who are in high political offices have to go through?
I'll share 3.
Please.
One, health is a very controversial sport in terms of the interest, and they are deep. And nobody should lie to you, they are not there. They are deep, they are, imepandwa. It's grown.
Deep-rooted, matured for over many years.
It even has grandchildren right there. So I moved in with an agenda to reform, and that was always my brief. Anywhere I went, it was an issue of reform. My tea sector days, go in there, look at the legal framework and, turn it upside down. But health was the most interesting because I moved there and I took my usual energy to reform. And therefore, it was universal health coverage needed to be delivered in a manner that was sustainable. NHIF needed to be turned upside down. There were bad manners happening there. There was a lot of seepage. KEMSA, Kenya Medical Supplies, again, another notorious place in terms of interest because they are huge budgets. Those two institutions, including the ministry headquarters itself, needed to be reformed. And so I did touch the live wire because I went right direct, and my first incident was recruiting or redirecting commencement of the recruitment process of the CEO of KEMSA. There was already one, and there was an interest of others who had run around and lobbied. And so I had a list 8 months later, pick one of these. And I wasn't going to do that. So I said, cancel process, get started. I touched live wire. And on this particular day when the re-advert ran, I received interesting calls from sources I won't speak about. I even received visitors in the guise of taking coffee in my office, and they said, so what happened? Why did you get started with this process? Little did I know that was going to be the entry point of my impeachment attempt, which almost sailed through. But within the same time, there was a lot of notorious happenings at Kenyatta National Hospital. Given it is a premier referral hospital, it felt very bad that there were allegations of parents, mothers being raped within the hospital. It was ugly that there was one surgery which I have documented and written about where you go to hospital with a stomach ache, you're admitted. Muga comes with a head issue and is operated in the stomach and vice versa.
Nataka kichwa yangu.
And it was drama, and that needed to be resolved. And so I did get to the board and I said, you know what? I don't even know about this evening or tomorrow. I want this resolved with you now. And I drove there. And it earned a suspension of the then CEO to allow for investigation because the noises were too many. And there were noises which had started before I came in. When the former minister handed over to me, said, I have ordered for investigation into this facility and therefore follow through. So already there were problems. Now, I received interesting calls. Immediately, these went on air. 411, I received calls. And I remember one very conspicuous. And they said, we trusted you to be a good leader, but I think you are useless. And these are the things we get exposed to, right? This is a politician. And of course, the rest is history because she proceeded. We did proper investigation, proper auditing there. And I think at that point, I did put the institution on the right footing. As an outcome, then Cicely has to be impeached. In my book, I say I was being impeached for doing the right thing. Because today, if I get the same opportunity, I'll do exactly that, I think with better speed. So that is one of the things that inspired me to write, because I said then, I'm up against all these people. They are refusing to actually even commend me for attempting to do a very untidy job. And the prize I'm getting is being impeached. It went to the third reading, 170 MPs signed, passed the threshold, went to the third reading, pulled out on the afternoon, I still remember, on a Thursday. The second one that cost me to write was a second attempted impeachment. This had to do with the NYS second alleged scandal, for which I am not the accounting officer. I never was. I had served my days as an accounting officer when I was a PS. But it all boiled down to politics that were being interpreted in the manner of mtu wetu. Umeshika mtu wetu. Au kupatia mtu wetu kazi, kind of conversation. So I became a victim. I said, one day I'll tell my story, and I won't tell it the way I'm saying. I will document so that my grandchildren can also read. The second motivation that I had for writing the book was every time I appeared to be a little bit head-on with issues. I challenged the status quo. I reformed the sector and withheld licenses from politicians who were correct, who had gotten the licenses not in the correct way. And I withheld. I called back, I cancelled. The story would go, look at her. She can't be this daring if she's not connected. This is a relative of the third president. Don't touch her. And I carried that story all the time. Oh, she was born in Mbuya. Oh, she's from that rich family. That is why she happened to be in that position. My father, my mother, very humble, without shoes to school, like most of you. So I decided to use the opportunity to flip this false perception about who I am and ride on it and do the reforms and turn back without confirming whether I'm a relative of the third president. Because when I came to be appointed in cabinet, and it so happened there were 26 PSs, and I was the only one who was lucky to be promoted to cabinet. They said, look, did we not tell you? She's a relative of the Kenyattas. Don't you understand?
There's a connection, Bwana.
Right? Isn't it? Because this is how we view things. So I decided I'll tell my story so that the facts can be known that I am from the most humble family. Really struggled through even to get food and school fees. I've been sent out of school without school because of lack of school fees. I'll tell my story that I'm not related to either the third or the fourth president. I'll also tell the story that I did need to bribe my way to get to the places where I have gotten. And so those are some of the things that motivated me to write.
You did or you didn't?
I didn't.
Okay.
My friend, I didn't. I didn't.
You'll be related to the fourth governor of Nairobi.
Don't worry, we'll find a relative. If we miss the others, we'll find you one.
I'm my own relative.
These experiences, though, they point towards something, that there are people who are in public service, who are in that sector, who mean to do well. From your experience as a PS and as a CS for those many years, could you say, without naming names, there are people who actually get into this office with no intention to deliver? Let's start with from president to deputy president to ministers to PSs.
I mean, the four of us in this room today are different, isn't it? We are driven by different reasons. Our motivations are quite different. So I do believe, using my own case, is that, there are people who just want to do a good job. And there are those who not necessarily, to do a good job, but are out there for self-interest. And that's why we are different. Self-service in the public sector is high, and so is humility to actually make a difference. And so it's a balance, and it's really what drives you, what motivates you.
They say a fish rots from the head.
That's a proverb. Yes, it's documented.
So when we see such problems, where do we trace the problem?
In my days, my brief, every time I went to a new docket, and NYS was troubled, really, because when I moved in, it was NYS, when saga, public confidence down south, the former minister called off and she had to resign. It was very troubled, and it gave me jitters. My brief then from my boss was, don't touch nothing. There's a lot of money. There's a big budget in that ministry. It's not your money. So I worked all the time knowing public money is not my money. But when the boss also tells you as much, then you confirm it's really not my money. And so every time I had a meeting with my management team, I was on record, like a broken record, that it's not our money. And therefore you get caught, you're on your own.
You're on your own.
Yes, just like the boss has told me.
Could you also translate it the way that Ednah has said, it's not yours, it's not your mother's money. Wacha kushinda ukichunga hii pesa.
Okay, I can only speak about me, because again, also tongue slip. When I was in the Ministry of Health, I defended public resources until they decided she's behaving like Thatcher. So I got the name, and I was glad that was a name attributed to me, because clearly you have to defend public money as if it's yours, because in the end of the day, from the proverb that Muga has shared, it's about us and the relationship. I'm only privileged, 22 of us, to serve 50 million Kenyans. So if I come and pretend I have to defend it like it's my money. It's just good manners. Is that happening? Not necessarily.
So are those the things that made us, for example, not move ahead with UHC, for instance? You rolled out the UHC pilot project in those 4 counties, Isiolo, Kisumu, Nyeri, Machakos. We never saw a report, Cecily. In fact, we kept talking about this here and saying, Cecily, can you just give us a report? What happened to the pilot UHC?
I'm surprised you didn't see the report. There was an in-depth, detailed report, documented, researched, which is part of what was informing the scale-up. What affected the scale-up, please get me on record, was COVID came in and resources were diverted to manage or mitigate against COVID. That is the time I was living. So really there was a report. Of course, I have the summary briefs with me, but you see, I'm not the Minister for Health, so I can't start sharing that. But there was. And trust me, Latiff, I don't think that I'm one person who would settle to allow for a 4 billion investment to go undocumented with good lessons learned, with missed opportunities, and the way forward. So that report is there.
Did you ever come up to the public? Because you came to the public and said, we are rolling out UHC in these 4 counties and giving us the progress and telling us this UHC is rolling out. Did you ever come out to tell us, so here is the report? Because you had a report, yes. But did you tell us?
I did. I do recall must have been in Pan-Africa or something with the Committee of Health then, because we were looking at scaling up only on the basis of anchoring the UHC modalities on a policy. And therefore, there was a policy that I took to Cabinet, which later on was revised by the CS who took over from me. And it was tabled, and it's public. I mean, that information is there, Latiff. Really, it's there. It's public information.
There's something that has always puzzled me. When I look at just the number of, I'm looking at it now, parastatal semi-autonomous government agencies, regulatory bodies, councils, all of the ministry. There are many. Now, something that has dominated our conversations recently is appointments of people to such bodies and such boards. Tell us a little bit about your experience in these matters, because as a politician, these things count.
They do.
Yes.
I mean, they do. I'm looking at about 16 of them in my days in water. I'm looking at 26 plus in my days in health. And, truth be told, these are some of the instruments that are used to promote political expediency. Now, some of them, I said. In some cases like health, the law was so very clear of either the caliber, the qualifications on the persons that can come onto these boards. And therefore that gives you a safeguard, because then you don't just pick a failed politician to come and join such a board. But on a balance, there are those that look like kawaida, ordinary, anybody can come and fit in. And some of them have been used, like you and I know, to reward. Now, in a lot of cases, the appointing authority for the chairman of the boards and parastatals, the appointing authority is the president in a lot of cases, of the top.
What about the CEOs?
Recruited by the board.
Recruited by the board with the concurrence of the minister and in consultation with the head of state, where there is good order. Where there is good order. Yeah? But in my days, I really must say, and maybe it is part of what earned me the impeachment motions, I was given the latitude to actually manage the process in a lot of cases, or in most cases, I must say. But when it comes to, and again, I must say my tenure may have been a bit different, because had I started with the 2013, when the government had just come in, maybe there were rewards to be made at that point in time, but I was only a PS, so I wasn't quite involved. Agriculture, when I was a PS also, is very predetermined in terms of the qualifications of who can get in, which again gives a safeguard. Yeah.
As we come to the conclusion, I want to ask you, because you're now outside and you're looking, you're seeing things that are happening. Your former boss is now president, and some of your colleagues are advising him.
Yes.
Where are we heading?
That's a very broad question. Where are we?
Deliberately so, madam.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Are they making the right decisions for this country? That's a very direct question. You asked for it. You have a minute.
You really want me to answer that?
Yes.
If we were making the right decisions at that point, I think that the noise would be less. That's my very direct answer. Yes, the noises at the village level would be less.
And right now they're very loud.
At the village level, it's loud. I mean, where I am, it's loud. There's a lot of hopelessness setting in. There's a lot of, are we going to recover?
There's despair.
Yeah.
Do you think if you are making the right decisions when you were in government with your bosses then, the people would have rejected your party the way they did in the last election?
Rather, your president then, the way they did.
You know, the electorate is very interesting because they get carried away with emotions. And I told you, emotions inform decisions. Politics is emotions put together. And therefore, I want to think and confirm from the docket that I was responsible personally that we moved. We moved. Did you get everything right? No.
Spice up your life.
Here is like even some of the counties where we come from. It's like we've seen you, Latiff. We know what you're capable of delivering. Move on. Let the other person come. Very emotional. So the public also needs to decide whether they are going to vote me in because I speak good English or good Kiswahili, whether I am light color. You know, they must decide what they are voting. Whether I go to dance with them, I dance a lot with the youth and the women. Whether because I dance with them, I was going to be able to deliver when they removed the vote for Uhuru Tena. So the public must also decide what it is they want. Now, does the media have a role in that? A huge one. Because you also are the people who are branding people in terms of who they are and what it is. And in my book, I have talked about the media.
And such.
You know, and fanning it. And you know, when I come to tell you this is the truth about Sicily, you are just fanning the Sicily who has been brought by people who are impeaching me. So I've spoken to the media, I've dedicated a paragraph to the media, that the media can be used by politicians or business adversaries if you're not careful. Because also the journalist, in terms of doing proper research to know who Sicily is, the work she does on a day-to-day basis, the impact or the difference she's bringing, the media also is as guilty as the population. Latiff? Not always. Sorry, don't.
No. I get it. I am not pushing back on that. I completely get it and I agree.
Yeah.
So in your own assessment and judgment, the decisions that the people make in an election are not based on pragmatism. They're not made on anything practical. They are purely emotional.
80%.
To a greater extent, they're emotional.
80%. It is a person who comes with lot money to come and dish out and throw out. Right? I will decide this guy is my guy, is rich. It is how you carry yourself and engage a ground. It is the arm twisting that you do. It is just the need, I want you off that seat. Let me get the next person. We must get to a point and interrogate people for who they are. Where have you been? What have you delivered? What can you be held accountable for? But we have even thieves. And you know, this guy is, or that woman is really a thief, documented with a case in court. But you've decided this is the one I want. And in one county, I remember hearing, kama ni mwizi ni wetu. Huyo ndio tunata. So, you know, so come on, 50 million Kenyans, get your leaders and hold them accountable. You get people who have not, I'm not saying going to school is a huge thing, but you get people who,
uneducated people.
Yeah, yeah, I'll be forgiven. But yeah, out there, how do you want me to come and serve you if the leadership I've given in the past is up to a nursery school? How do you want me to run
a ministry?
It's tough, eh? No, not even a county. Right? How?
Cecily, thank you very much for joining us today. Cecily Kariuki is the former cabinet secretary, is currently CEO of Reimagine Impact Associates. She's a certified leadership and EQ coach. She's been our guest. 3 minutes after 9.
Thank you very much.
spice up your life.
The man who looks at a beautiful girl and doesn't talk to her will end up serving lunch at her wedding.
Aya, City, do like that.
My father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man?
Ameua panya.
Small mammal, big mammal.
Mtu atamshinda.
What are they saying? How are we comparison? I mean, you kill a mouse.
What are they saying?
What they're saying is, my father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man? Name, surprise. Someone's name.
The name surprised you?
No, the name is surprise.
No, what am I saying? I'm from Nigeria, man. I met somebody called I Believe. So I said, your name is I Believe? Yes, my name is I Believe. But that's the short form. I said, excuse me? I said, yes, my name is I Believe. So what's the full name? I believe in the goodness of
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. You know, that's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
So who's a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
windows
sleep inside.
Up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It won't start. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in
Ben low nin inte yenin there ayu markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. You know, sweating is biblical. Good. And you must blame it on Adam, not because Adam messed up and he was told, no, you fellow, you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat.
The Situation
A few
Room.
minutes after 9 o'clock in the CBD is where you find most of it now. Folks coming in from Gong Road, coming in from Haile Selassie, that's at the Kamkunji roundabout. And then also Huru Highway, pretty busy as you're getting into the city. Off the thicker superhighway, not as bad as it was earlier. Just at the tunnel is where we'll find a little bit of that. As you're coming off of Limuru Road, there's also some bumper-to-bumper action between Muthaiga and then up there at a village market. So keeping an eye on things. Let's see what happens as we come to the close of traffic hour. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in
Ndu was talking about N'Djamena. Where else?
Freetown.
Where else?
Yamoussoukro.
Where else?
Abuja.
Where else?
Johannesburg.
Where else?
Blantyre.
Where else?
Windhoek.
Where else?
Kigali.
Where else?
Bujumbura.
Where else?
Nairobi. Kampala.
Dodoma.
What else do you want?
Lome.
Accra. You want more?
Yes.
Cotonou.
No, don't
Dakar.
Stop hanging this guy.
We mean he wants us to reach
What
35.
You, bro,
you can do London.
Dubai.
South Africa.
Pretoria. Beijing.
Paris.
Oui.
Okay.
That country.
All those. Imagine going
That
to any
country
of those
Dubai.
countries. You have your banking app on your phone.
Yes.
And you just go in, same. As long as you have internet connection, log on to get into your app, and you have the same banking app, and you have your bank.
It's you who pays the bills.
It is
in
you
Nairobi.
who, yes.
You are in Freetown. Wanakupiga Eric Gasi meisha.
Unaambia lipa immediate, like that.
Yes.
Oh, mtu wa stima ako hapa kwa kikingi. Wanataka kukatia kwa kikingi. Sahi. You pay from wherever you are. Why? Because it's one platform seamlessly working in all those 35+4 regions.
Absolutely. In those markets. Like you never left. I think that should also be part of the tagline.
Yeah.
Like you never left. I said it looks great, and that's what EcoBank provides for you. Getting onto that platform, doesn't matter where you are, across those 35 markets in Africa and 4 other markets outside of the continent. It's a better way. It's a better Africa.
Very good. Now we have 2 gentlemen who are joining us in the studio. One of them is Tori Teach. The other one is Tuitoek. Okay. David Letimoy Tuitoek is the youth director at the Endoro's Welfare Council, and Kibi Arab Tanyakori is the cultural ambassador for this community. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So first of all, city was like Endoro's. Are they from Endabes?
Not really. Endorois are from Baringo County as their native land, Lake Bogoria and the surrounding. But now, out of an incident that happened way in 1974, we were now forced to find an alternative, and we are now distributed in 4 counties. 4 different counties. So now the native Baringo, Laikipia, Nakuru, and part of Uasin and some are now in Nairobi.
Like you too.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to tell us about this.
Yes.
And
you want to understand what this had happened in 1974?
1974.
Yes.
So initially you were around Lake Bogoria?
Yes.
As a community?
As a community.
A community, we mean a tribe?
Absolutely. A society.
Okay.
A thriving society.
One different language.
Yes.
Okay.
Kidogo. Tutaingia kwa hiyo maneno sahi. City, please give them the proverb from Ghana.
Yes, our proverb.
Did you say Accra?
I said Accra.
She said Accra.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And we know it's in Ghana.
Okay.
Okay. Our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the country of Ghana. This proverb has 4 parts. Simple, straightforward, easy to understand. It is the human being that matters. 1. I call gold. It does not answer. 2. I call cloth. It does not answer. 3. It is the human being that counts. When you call the human being answers. That's not part of the proverb. That's me adding.
Oh, right.
David, what's your interpretation of this proverb?
Very good. In my understanding, is that human being is the core and the center of any form of discussion, and that human being responds. They are dynamic in nature, which means also in our design, these are the critical part we need to put it as a priority. That would be my understanding.
Interesting. Give me what it says.
Yeah, my understanding from the proverb is that the wisdom lies in a human being. The ignorance lies in a human being. And the I can call it wickedness. The wickedness lies within human being. So in all the areas, you will find all the fashions within a human being. So whether a human being that will respond, a human being that will not respond, a human being that will turn their back to you, and a human being that will not even care whether you have spoken or not, but they are there.
Ndu?
Yes. Yes.
Wapatia marks.
Out of what?
Choose one.
5,000. I mean, why not? At this point.
Very well articulated.
I think so.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Good perspectives.
Absolutely.
Very, very good perspectives. So back to the Endorois. Okay. So before 1974, who were the Endorois?
Very good. Before 1974, Endorois was a community by itself, living, surviving, not really surviving, but thriving in Lake Bogoria surroundings. This is a place that has a very unique cultural connotation and also religious connotation to this community. They are part of the bigger Kalenjin community. Like, I know when we talk of Kalenjin, you can understand Nandi, you can understand Kipsigis, you can understand Tugen. So Endorois was part of it. And they had a unique structure in terms of culture and also in terms of leadership. So that is who Endorois was then, before the eviction.
Who were the neighbors? Who were the neighbors of the Endorois community?
Very good. The neighbors of Endorois community were around 5. One is El Chamus, Samor, El Keyo. They had Tugen. They had Lembus.
And Pokot.
And Pokot, very good.
Yeah,
and
Pokot.
Apart from the Keyo and the Pokot,
yes,
the others are as little known as the Endorois, the Ilchamus, the Lembus, the Tugen, we had a president, the Samar. Are they still in existence, these others?
Yes. They exist very much.
Are they still around Lake Bogoria?
Yeah. No. They were not living around Lake Bogoria.
Okay.
That is a fashion that was brought by the government when the Endorais started arguing of their frustrations. And the government argued that no, the Endorais are not the only people who are living within Lake Bogoria. And now they merged the Samor and the rest. But Samor lives away. They are very far from Koryama.
Traditionally, where are they from? Where do they live? Traditionally,
Samor lives from Koryama towards Kabarnet. The Lembus lives from Mogotio towards Eldama Ravine. The other part of Kisanane are Pokor. The lower side of Lake Baringo are El Del Chamus, and the upper part of the Lake Baringo, the northern side of the Endorais, are the Pokot. So there was no that distinct connection that the government argued before that there were other people that were within Lake Bogoria. So Endorais lived the area and enjoyed the place themselves. And because Endorais from the Kalenjin community were the only pastoral communities, the nomad pastoral communities, they would spend their times during the rainy season at the lowland, which is the areas, the belt of Lake Bogoria. And then during the dry season, they will spend most of their times at the upper land, the Mochongoi area, where now you have seen some contestation on why the government did not restitute or compensate the Endorais land to the Endorais themselves. They compensated it to other people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get to 1974. What happened?
In 1974, there was an alienation of the Endor's land to a reserve or a conservation area, which is a conservancy. And during that time, the government used the force to evict the people. There was no public participation and there was no agreement on the terms of understanding and how the management could come into existence and where would the people around could be maybe taken to or compensated. So that was the challenge that started then. So when the community started now arguing back as to why the government is coming in that angle, they were evicted, through burning of their houses, destruction of their sites, and then the area became a conservation area.
So it wasn't a planned displacement.
Yeah, it wasn't a planned.
It was basically forceful eviction from an area.
Forceful eviction, true.
And where did the people end up going?
Majority of the people now started going out. That's why we have people who went to Laikipia, and they are scattered within Laikipia. We have the people who are living within the Nakuru, and they are scattered within some parts of Nakuru. And now the people within started now migrating to other places, where now you can get some people went to some more areas, to the Pokot, to the Lembus, and even some people went to Pokot. Some people went to the Pokot and came back just recently. Yes.
What was the reason, from your understanding? Well, I mean, obviously, this passed down generations would have understood. What was the reason for the pushing out of these communities from where they were? Why? Why would anybody want to say, go, leave?
Thank you. And I think even before I answer that question, I need to add something on why Lake Bogoria and the entire belt belong to Endorese. We had an history given by our forefathers that before we were so blessed, and out of our nature as human beings, relating to the first quote that we were given here, some of these elders started mistreating the surrounding. What do I mean? We had a lot of animals, which means a lot of milk, a lot of cows giving birth. So in the process, when you have surplus, started misusing the milk. So how did they started misusing the milk? They could pour it in a pool and allow some kids to use it like a swimming pool. And if a neighbor comes on board,
this
and
is not in Egypt.
I want you to get the context very properly. And when a friend comes on board, when a cow gives birth, of course, you understand the process, there's the placenta. Now, you will give somebody a placenta as a form of a meat. So God was very furious about us, our God by that time. And what happened is, he capsized the entire place where those part of our elders were, and that is where the lake started emanating from.
It became a lake.
And that's why we have geysers from, it's some spirit.
Hot
So at the end of the day, our cultural elders by then decided to perform a ritual. And it started now cooling it down, getting some waters, and even the power of the anger started reducing until we have now a geyser, which is unattractive to nature. Secondly, also the surrounding acted as a very ambient environment. We go back to our roots. The animals started growing very well and so forth. So that is why the uniquely label comes from. Secondly is about why we have a spiritual connotation to it. Now, on the question of eviction, the government came with a brilliant idea as per them, that we want to conserve.
The lake.
Right? The driving power is we want to conserve the lake.
Conserve what? The lake?
The lake and then environment around it.
And
because there are some, yes, we have a lot of wild animals around. Secondly is they say that as community, you may not understand the value, the monetary value from this. And when you critically analyze, there was nothing about conservation. Why? We have a very unique and robust relationship with the environment. We have a unique way of relating to the plant, to the animals, and we coexist extremely very well. So at the end of the day, we realized it was a question of money involved, and they never brought it very clear to our table. And again, out of the understanding at that particular level, we could deny that, of course, this is our native land. Give us an alternative. Or we have no other alternative, because this is where our ancestral spirit are based.
So that is, for what you're saying, the government saw some kind of commercial value in that place where the community resided, and said the only way for government to tap into, whether they be individuals or it doesn't matter.
Yes.
The only way for us to tap into this cash, essentially, is to remove these people from here.
Absolutely.
That's the reason.
Yeah.
So where did people go?
Very good. So, like he had mentioned, typically for my father, for example, we were forced to go all the way to Laikipia County. Of course, when you're being pushed, you cannot just run immediately. You move for a safer distance, maintain, because the kind of approach these people used by then, it was so brutal. What happened is there was a great resistance. So they used the KWS team, come with an extreme eviction formula whereby if you are found in the house, they will ramp you into the house with your animals and they burn you inside. You can imagine that form of torture and eviction formula.
Are you sure?
Some of us, because of the resistance level.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Was it documented?
Yeah, we documented it.
We documented that. Now, what happened is
we did
some
the
of us...
documentary for the compensation around 2013, 2016. And we have all the records of the people that suffered.
People who were burnt in their own houses.
Yeah, sure.
And some survived?
Yeah, some survived.
So that scared some of our members, and we could move to a safer space as you monitor. So, and that's how others found themselves in Laikipia and Nakuru and part of...
I want to ask this question.
Yes.
Because in such matters, you are clearly a minority group.
Absolutely.
And minority groups around around this planet have, for some reason or the other, have been marginalized. But there's a reason why that happens. You had a resource. You had resources. You had this lake, it's a resource. You had wild animals, it's a resource, natural resource. You have minerals.
Absolutely.
Rubies, to be precise. They are minerals. And you also had community leaders. Tell me that your community leaders were not involved in any understanding with people in government for that to happen. Because as a resource, before KWS became KWS as we now know it, it was just some wildlife service. I don't remember what it was called then. Kenya Wildlife Service. No, that's recent. Even places like Lake Nakuru were places anybody could just go and see. When KWS was constituted and formulated, then it became this place you had to pay to go. All these things happened. But usually there are leaders within the community who have an understanding on people's behalf. Whether the people sent them or they're speaking out of turn, it always exists. So tell us, was this such a situation? Because somebody had to bring this to the attention of the government, and somebody had to ensure that certain things were understood. Or was it just the government on their own decided that this place was valuable and they wanted to take it? And even if that was the case, I would ask who in government? Because government is not faceless. There are always individuals who have an interest. And the worst thing is, many of them may come from that region. They may not come from some other region far away from there. That is my assertion. Now, please fill in the blanks for me.
Yeah, a very good assertion. Thank you very much. I think you have nailed it, asking the pertinent things as to why such things existed then.
Yes.
And there were people. First, before that time, there were no community people involved in the, which I can say they were maybe Mwakenya of the community or something like that, Awakua. So the community was fighting as one, and they struggled very much to make sure that they have maintained their originality and their naturality. So from time to time, when the thing now started rolling, when the war started rolling or the agitation started rolling, some people started now gaining the benefits, backdoor benefits through the struggle, because now the government at that time, when they saw that the community has now arose to the system, they wanted to get some people that will assist them in pulling back the majority, and that is where they started using some people from the community. And what was our advantage then is because we did not have people who were in the face of the government, because the majority of them were just the people who are locally like the rest. The people that were being used then were the others, the people from the other tribes who disputed that the Endorais never existed and they were part and parcel of Tugen, and they did not accept that Endorais can just stand up and walk a lane on its own and argue that they are a tribe. So that's where now the community got an advantage, because the people that were used were within themselves and not people who are out. I think if it was like today where a lot of people are advanced, it would have been hard for us to get the recognition. And progressively, the community started mobilizing itself. So even around 1983, 84, 85, 86 to 89, majority of the Endorais employed civil servants then were dismissed from their services. Because they wanted now to make sure that Endorais does not have any external efforts outside the community. So they wanted to suppress the community, to be extremely poor, and now got into the right of the government.
And is that linked to what we've heard previously about because they were, vibrant in being able to do business? What I'm looking for motivating reason why you would. First of all, you've moved them from where they were naturally. Then wherever they've domiciled, you still want to snuff them out completely.
The target was to make sure that these people does not have any resource outside that can support the agitating factors or the stimulating efforts that's making them stronger day by day.
Because if you do that, essentially what you're trying to say is that this community of people, wherever they go, they will succeed or they will thrive.
Exactly.
And they become a threat to anybody wherever they are. Why them and not anybody else? One could argue that
they were not threat to other people, but they were stronger towards agitating for their recognition as a community.
Okay.
So because the government viewed that maybe those with some small cash are doing an underground maybe movement. Support. So they said no, we have now to make sure that the house is clean and make sure that these people
suppress
have
all the voices
external support
that you can get. I want us to take a break at 29 minutes to 10. Our conversation this morning is about the Endorais community, their long pursuit for justice in the country and outside the country, and what they have achieved so far. What more steps need to be taken? Ndu,
yes.
What's your plan?
My plan is to make sure that I have a plan. And you can sometimes you think about, okay, is it too late? Did I not do this early enough? Or even am I too young to start to have a plan? How much time do I have? Well, guess what? It's not too late. It's not too early to ever have a plan that secures your future financially, and making sure that you've put away a nest egg to make sure that you can actually have something that you can work with or something that you can live off of later. ICA says you can do that. You can talk to them about, okay, with the little that I have or the much that I have, how do I put in place a plan to make sure that I'm secure in the future?
Bas. ICA Lion. Head on to icalion.co.ke.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. And hii mambo utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Oh, finally! It's my Standard Courier delivery.
At Standard Courier, we know that your time is valuable. That's why we guarantee swift and efficient deliveries to your doorstep every time. Give us a call on 0793 599 684 or schedule your next delivery by visiting our website www.standardmedia.co.ke/courier. Trust Standard Courier service for all your courier needs. We deliver with pride.
Looking for your favorite KTN station and just can't seem to find it? Well, you can watch all KTN channels on Pang. From the latest bulletins on KTN News Channel 5X0, heartwarming stories on KTN Home Channel 104, insightful agricultural content on KTN Farmers Channel 176, to the best of entertainment on KTN Burudani Channel 170. We have it all. Grab your remote, tune in to Pang and enjoy the variety of content we've prepared for your enjoyment.
Are you ready? The 9th edition of the Pulse Music Video Awards PMVA Gala is here with us.
The nominations are for the Best Group of the Year.
The gala will be going down on Wednesday, 21st of February at the Nairobi Street Kitchen. Who will be crowned as the best musician in Kenya?
And the winner is...
With 13 trophies to be won and lucrative prizes to the ego, who is going to be the star of the year? Don't miss out on Kenya's biggest music video awards, PMVA. Feel the beat.
on the beat.
Follow the action live on KTN Home.
So coming to the end of traffic hour, just a little bit left, just actually at that Pangani underpass coming off Thika Superhighway and on Limuru Road as well. Nothing left really. If you look at across the city, I think we've done well for Wednesday into the middle of the week as the weekend then starts to come to an end. But traffic is not an issue, at least not this part of the day any longer. Let's talk through the morning and through the day on SpiceFM KE on X.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Oh, finally! It's my Standard Courier delivery.
At Standard Courier, we know that your time is valuable. That's why we guarantee swift and efficient deliveries to your doorstep every time. Give us a call on 0793 599 684 or schedule your next delivery by visiting our website www.standardmedia.co.ke/courier. Trust Standard Courier service for all your courier needs. We deliver with pride.
Looking for your favorite KTN station and just can't seem to find it? Well, you can watch all KTN channels on Pang. From the latest bulletins on KTN News Channel 5X0, heartwarming stories on KTN Home Channel 104, insightful agricultural content on KTN Farmers Channel 176, to the best of entertainment on KTN Burudani Channel 170. We have it all. Grab your remote, tune in to Pang and enjoy the variety of content we've prepared for your enjoyment.
Are you ready? The 9th edition of the Pulse Music Video Awards PMVA Gala is here with us.
The nominations are for the Best Group of the Year.
The gala will be going down on Wednesday, 21st of February at the Nairobi Street Kitchen. Who will be crowned as the best musician in Kenya?
And the winner is...
With 13 trophies to be won and lucrative prizes to the ego, who is going to be the star of the year? Don't miss out on Kenya's biggest music video awards, PMVA.
All right, our conversation continues this morning. Kibi Arab Tanyakori is a cultural ambassador and David Lalimoi Tuitorek is a youth director for the Endor Welfare Council. Talking about the Endor community and what's happened to you over the years. So, this agitation in the 80s, like you're saying, this was happening. People were being fired from public service just to disempower the community elders or influencers from having the opportunities to raise the issues of what had happened to the Endorois. Okay. When did the community then come together and start a proper formal push for recognition and for justice?
To start there, the community, after seeing the disenfranchisement
or disenfranchisement. That
Yes,
one.
yes. Could destabilize, yeah.
So that destabilization for long, they thought that they must come into one caucus and argue with a system. And in 1995, they formed the Endorais Welfare Council. That was now an umbrella organization for the community then. And that is what it gave the community a light and a right trail to follow, I think, up to where we are.
Was it registered? Or was it
not
an
registered
informal?
then, and it was denied several requests for registration because they did not want it to come live. And also by then, I also side to the side of the government, maybe with my own philosophy, because after going into various also studies and doing some research, you could also understand why the government was very threatened to, not even reluctant, very threatened at that time. It was because having a community that called itself a minority then was an history. And people feared that now identifying this community as a minority and an marginalized community will be a big thing, or will be something that will maybe turn around the systems of the government. So they did not know that just identifying a community is just normal, and a community will thrive like any other community, and requested the systems to fare with like the other communities.
By 1985, was the Endorois officially recognized as a tribe?
No. It was still an illegal entity.
It was
an illegal community.
So the tribe was called Kalenjin?
It was called Tugen.
Tugen.
Okay.
Yes.
So the Tugen as a tribe, just the same way we had the Nandi as a tribe, officially recognized, the Kipsigis officially recognized as a tribe, and others. But Endorois, no.
No.
Okay.
Even among the groups that are referred to as Nandi, there'll be what you call subgroups, and they'll be specific, and they'll tell you, no, I am actually not a Nandi. Though I come from this region, I am called this, and I'm called this, and I'm called this. They're specific.
Okay. So from there, okay.
What normally happens is that in every community, for you to qualify to be a tribe, you must have a certain clans, and there is a certain cultural uniqueness that you must depict for you to be considered as a tribe. So at times there's a confusion between a tribe and a clan.
Yeah.
So just to make it very clear from the onset is that the government at that particular moment never wanted to see the light of Endorois to come on board, simply because of our unique and the resilience power that we have. We are one community that has a unique power in terms of cultural values and cultural progressiveness. So at the end of the day, the best way to ensure that land remains a reserve is to make sure whoever is associated to that does not exist. So that was the intention. And at the end of the day, if you see the level of intimidation they were using, for example, if you're in public service, if you're at least by then, you could even count. We are the ones who will tell them as elders, we don't know these formality issues, but now you're on the system. Can you understand? Tell us, how do we amplify or formalize our issues? So when such kind of person comes on board, you're hit and you're fired. So most of us, because some of them walikuwa kwa askari, they were fired out of that. Now, what was the clear connotation? It's not that we had some of our community members who could side with the government by then. No. The reason was this. At the end of the day, the presence of these people must be cleared in any way possible.
You've got to wipe out
completely.
Historical reference.
So for you to survive, what could you have done as a community by then? Try to associate yourself with a certain community. And that's where the aspect of Tugen came on board. Now, formalizing the registration of EWC, it was not an easy task. Immediately once Moi came on board, because he understands us, we have been around there, he understands the capacity and the power in us. He said, number one, no issues about Endorois, we are all together. Okay. Number two, no issues of regrouping and asking about the land. That is a natural result. It is a government issue. And yet we knew there is a personal hidden agenda. So we went through the legal system by then, High Court, and we lost. You cannot win against the government at that particular moment.
Which years were this? In the 80s?
2000 and some, and in fact, 2001. Exactly.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, we realized our justice has not been delivered. So we went all the way to African Court on people's right. Now, this is where, and it immediately started in 2003. So who help us? We have the semi-right and we have the MRG, the minority groups. They are the ones now who filed the petition on our behalf simply because EWC by then was just an association. It was just community saying we need to let's keep holding each other. But of course, this is how we are going to call ourselves. So once the ruling was done during the 46th ordinary session, it is 11th to 25th of November 2009. This is where now the 7 prayers were given on board. And among the 7 prayer was, these people need to be given a formal identity, which is in line with the Kenyan Constitution. So that is when the registration was formalized.
That's when the Endorois were recognized.
So
officially.
2010, that is when we did now a big celebration, celebrating the rulings that we were given by the African Court. And that is where now the formal aspect came on board. So all that long, there was serious fights, and some were not even, captured in details in terms of history.
Officially, you were non-existent.
Yes.
Until 2010.
Until 2010.
So, what are the other 6 prayers that you had sought and got
Very
from
good.
the African Court on?
So the first prayer was, we need to be identified and recognized as a minority community or an indigenous community. In fact, to set the record straight, we are the first ever in Africa to be known as indigenous community. And this is where even the African Court understood there's a concept of indigenous, there's a concept of minority, and there's a concept of marginalization. Now, one of the right of an indigenous community is an ancestral land. So that was the second prayer, that Lake Bogoria be reverted back to the community as their ancestral land. The other prayer was, now that we have the monetary, which could be beneficial to both the government and the community, can we have a mutual agreement that first 25% of the royalties, what is generated from the reserve, should be given to the community. 85% of the employment should go direct to the community. That was the third prayer that we were given by the African Court. Now, the other prayer that we were given is that the government to constitute a task force and include the community in the discussion or in the implementation. The other one was about now the state or the government has a jurisdiction or has a role. After every 3 months, can you report to African Court Commission on the status of implementation to that ruling? So those were the prayers we were given.
What's the population of this community?
Very good. Now, from the eviction, the families captured at that particular moment was 400. All right. Now, from that time up to now,
400 people.
400 households.
Households.
And remember, these are polygamous family. We are polygamous by design and by
not just
nature.
you, but okay.
Right? Like for my case, a typical example, my father had married 6 wives. I'm from the last wife.
Nice.
So that is our nature.
How many wives do you have?
For me now, I only have one.
So far.
We will discuss.
For now. That's why he said now.
For now.
All right. So as per, we fought. Besides being recognized as an independent community, then the immediate thing that the state has to implement is a code. Every community has a code. So I think it is in 2013, 2014, we started that, but now we were given in 2019 at around April. And the census was at around August there. Yep. So we were given a code called 420. So in 2019 census, we were around 45,000. But we know we could be more than that, and we have a serious issue about assimilation. So roughly now, from the fact, is around 45,000 and above.
Officially, 45,000.
45,000.
Endorois are recognized in the national census of 2019.
Yes.
Okay.
So then what does this mean? Because obviously it's not just recognition that's being sought after. There's a lot more.
Absolutely.
What are those a lot more, and how is it going to happen in present day government? Because what we're talking about, that the initial moving away or driving out of the community, according to you, took place years ago. But now here we are with a ruling from the African court, with the recognition of a number of people from this particular tribe, to then say there are certain things you want. Obviously, you're not happy with just that. What's that, and how is that going to happen?
All right.
For now, the first things first. The first things should be done first. Are the things that, or are the implementations of the ruling, first of all. Because, we cannot divert from the main goal. This is what we went to pray.
Yeah.
This is what we went to seek, and we have been delivered with. Now the government should act. One, on the royalties. We have not seen the system that the African court communicated. The 25%, because we are told the 25% of what we don't see. Because the people who collect the taxes and everything, we don't have anyone there who can tell us that in this month we have collected 100 shillings or 20 bob. We don't have. So that is another white elephant that we don't understand.
So basically, that
one
task
has not
force that was to be formed
Yes.
would do all these things.
Yeah.
The task force that includes the Endorois community
Exactly.
would, number one, start engaging. All right, so at government level, in terms of land
to
and
the county
recognition
level.
of land, can we first of all recognize this area around Lake Bogoria, and this is covering X number of hectares as the ancestral land of there? All right, so this is community land. Then there is revenue that accrues from this particular geographical region. And this comes from, wildlife, whatever, visitation, blah, blah, blah. It's collected through this system. Can we see the visibility of how much that is? And so on and so forth. So, but you need this body in place so that it's following up on this.
Absolutely.
What effort has been made to create the task force?
Very good. So I think in 2010, when the ruling was now celebrated by the entire country, the government was mandated to form the task. So what happened is they formed the task, excluded the community, and we had no problem with that because we believe they will follow the ruling to the letter.
After what they had done previously, you still believe that they would do
If the first thing that the court has told them, form a task force that includes the community,
and then they don't form one including the community.
Thank you for that question. At times, at times you don't need to focus on what you believe. Because at the end of the day, they will also use that as a reason not to proceed.
To stall.
Or to stall it. So we say it rather than saying we must be there, let them give them the benefit of doubt. Let them execute their work, provided we will be there to follow. So it happened that they were given the mandate. It was supposed to last for 1 year. No funding was given to that effect. So there was no report we were given at all. So that is how it ended. So what have we done as a community? We have opted to think of a homegrown solution. So number one, strengthening our own communities, sponsoring our own kids to go to school, because we realize one of the equalizing factor in this world is going to school. Because when I go to school, I'll be able to know a great friend like you now, and you're able to assist me in one way or the other.
Yep.
The second thing was this. We have to protect our culture, because that is the backbone of who we are. People have been writing about us, and at the end of the day, they give a very wrong connotation. There's a lot of evil things captured about Endorais, and yet they fail to capture the right thing. When that time comes, I will answer that, Latiff.
You don't want to amplify the evil things.
Exactly.
I get you.
Now, what we are saying, besides organizing ourselves, working with the county government, demanding employments here and there. We have been writing some petition to both the three county governments, for example, Baringo, Laikipia, and Nakuru, because at least we are tunaweza fikia kidogo, if I may use that term. Now, we have also went ahead and built partnership with other communities. What happened is our ruling said, it set a precedent. So there are other communities that have started coming on board demanding for their own space. A similar example is Ogiek. So we have initiated that, and in the year 2019-2020, when the Vice President, now the President of the Republic of Kenya, gave us a department on minorities. And we informed him that it's not just about Endorais. There are many other more unidentified indigenous communities in our republic. So can we think of a scope? This is just a typical example. Can we think around? So we formed a department, put 2 or 3 staff there, and then started doing a mapping. So when we did a mapping, miraculously, we found 60 more indigenous communities in our republic who are not, some are even stateless. They have no IDs. They have no basic things that identifies them as a country. And yet they have been born there, they've been living there.
Yes.
And this is something happening in this 21st century. So he heeded to that call. So now when he was seeking for re-election as the president, we gave a report. I was part of the team tasked to do the mapping. Volunteering in that aspect, to be very clear. So he said, fine, I now have a report, I know this, we have these communities. What else can we do? So we told them, we already have some that have some cases. For example, Ogiek and Endorais. Can you think of us tracking the implementation? And he said, fine. Number 2, it is good to promote this from being a department into something impactful. Because a department, you have a lot of limitations. So he said, fine, if God gives me the opportunity, I will do something for the minority.
God gave him the opportunity.
God gave him his opportunity. So what happened? So number 1, he took the department and promoted into a presidential unit. We call it Ethnic Minority and Marginalized Affair Unit, under the Office of the President. Executive Order number 2. Now, when that came on board, the mandate of that board is now, or that unit, is to look into the issues about minorities extensively, working together with the community leaders. Number 2, we formed a caucus of professionals from those communities. I being one of them, him part of it, and more. So we have a national caucus. This national caucus provides a support system to the presidential unit. So what else have we done through him now that he's in the seat? Vile alisema Mungu alimpea. Ametupea a director to run that affair unit. So, and the first thing we requested, because he did that on July 2023. So the first thing we told him is, there's a declaration done in 1992 by the UN about the International Day of Minority. We have never celebrated, that is 30 years down the line. We have never celebrated that in our country. Can you please give an effect to this? We did that plan within 3 weeks, and we had the first and inaugural program on 18th of December at the Chamber of at the Bomas of Kenya. 2023. We did that. It was a very big. We brought people who have never seen even a car. Some were struggling kumweka kwa gari atoke akuje Nairobi. It was an issue because hajawai on Atalami. That was an historic moment. And now that it was an inaugural, it means it shall be happening every year.
This is in 2023.
Last year. 3 months ago.
Lami.
3 months ago.
Yes. Hajiona gari. Boss, namwambia atiketi chini utafika Nairobi. What do you mean? It happens. They came here, showcased their cultural uniqueness and so forth. Did that. It was a 2-day program. And we are now saying there's a submission we did in terms of a memorandum. Can you promote it into a council? Like how Article 100 spells very clear that we have 4 categories of minorities: women, PWD, youth, and minority and marginalized community. That has the others, at least we have a commission. They have something going on about them. But this one, it's silent. So that is the discussion we are making.
So there's progress.
There's progress. So lastly is on 6th of this month, we did a petition. to the AG, the two communities, Endorois and Ogiek. And what is our call is that kindly relook about the petition. Remember the implementation that are still pending. Can you fast track and tell us the progress? And for the first time, they received our petition. So that is what we have been basically doing.
Have they responded?
We are yet to receive. They confirmed they will respond to us.
Why? You know, some things you take for granted.
For real.
And then you realize that it's about, there's nothing as important as identity.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely, Senior.
Without identity, then
what are you?
What are you? And I think, first of all, just the fact that the government recognizes the Endorois as a community in the Republic of Kenya, that's a big one.
Absolutely.
Because now that gives you strength to push for the other things. Well done, gentlemen.